Hello, everybody. Welcome to Frame Trap. On this lovely episode, Brandon Jones.
Hi.
With a sweet Japanese shirt on.
Yeah.
What's
Very
that
Frame
about?
Trap.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. It says patreon.com/SIZZLE.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay, great. A lot in there. And Bradley Ellis.
Hi.
Brad finally released from the
my civic duty,
the hells of
the courtroom.
yeah, jury duty. That was like
a month.
Intense.
Yes, a little over a month.
Yeah, I got really lucky. Last year, I got summoned to jury duty, and I had to check in. I think it was like for 4 days, and I just never had to come in.
Yeah.
And so I was like, woo, dodge that bullet. But you got hit by that bullet hard, so I felt bad for you, for sure.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. I'm your host, Ben Moore, and I was away in Indianola, Iowa for Knotfest, and I had a phenomenal time. And it kind of got me thinking, because I don't really know. We don't really talk about this kind of stuff that often, and so I'm not that familiar with the other allies' experiences on concerts. And so I was thinking, like, have you guys ever been to a concert that really stuck out to you or really meant a lot to you?
I've been to a lot of shows in my life.
Nice.
A lot.
Yeah, I want to go to a lot more.
I haven't been in a long time, but back when I was younger, I used to go, back in my day, I used to go all the time. I mean, I've seen Paul McCartney twice, which is pretty sick.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a big one.
I'd say my favorite shows were probably, I've seen like Between the Buried and Me, I think 4 or 5 times,
Nice.
I would say.
Nice.
And I've seen AFI like 3 or 4 times, and I've been a couple with Mike, which have been really fun.
Yeah, I'd love to see AFI.
Yeah, those are probably my favorite, I guess.
Nice.
Oh, like, I don't know their music a lot, but I went to a Guar show with some of my friends.
Yeah.
And I was
Oh,
like,
boy.
I'm going to go just because I know it's going to be a spectacle.
Yeah.
And boy,
It
was
delivered?
it.
That's awesome.
Oh, man.
That's so sick. How about you, Brandon?
I'll throw a couple your way that you might. I saw Anthrax in
Nice.
Boston at
I've
a
never
very
seen
at a
Anthrax.
very small venue that was really great.
Cool.
That's sick.
That was right before my 20. It was the night before my 21st birthday.
Did you know
I could
this?
not drink at that place because I was still 20.
I was watching. Red Letter Media is going through every John Carpenter movie and ranking
Right.
every single one, and
saw that.
it's pretty entertaining. And I didn't know that Anthrax did the score for. They performed John Carpenter's score for Ghost of Mars.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Saw Metallica at the Forum.
Nice.
With Amanda,
Cool.
actually, and that was rad. That I was
Cool.
like, I really want to do this. I don't know if I can go by myself. She was like,
Yeah.
I would love to see Metallica. So
Cool.
I'm just like jumping up and down, bumping
Was
into
that
people, and she's just like cracking
Before
up,
you were
like,
married?
No, I think that was like 2010 around then. But I don't know. Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I think we were in the house by then. But and then the Hollywood Bowl is such a big deal because I grew up in Southern California.
Yeah.
And so like I've seen John Williams at the Bowl like
Sick.
5 or 6 times. I think that's like the one like artist that I've like followed and tried to see. And been to a couple of Fish concerts. Went to Fish 8. That was in Indio.
Yeah.
And that was wild. Those are always like a spectacle.
That just has to be a giant, overwhelming cloud of weed.
It's
yeah.
a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Honestly, the one time I did see that was kind of a concert. It was a festival. I went to school in Boston, and the Commons and the Public Garden, which are 2 parks right next to each other, were like my campus, basically, as all the buildings were around there. And they had like, I think it wasn't called Weed Fest. I think it was called Hemp Fest. And I went out freshman year. I like went out of my dorm one day and was like, what? And just the Commons it just flew in this cloud like over the Commons.
Yeah.
So I'm just strolling in and people pass me in tie-dye shirts like, what's going on? This is,
Take this,
wow,
man.
right on.
Man.
But, and watching guards, everyone I saw like Radiohead at the Bowl one time. I'm trying to think of like the most stony band I saw at the Bowl. But watching
I'd
like
love to see
security
Radiohead,
guards at the
too.
Hollywood Bowl at an outside venue being like, hey. So a guard came up to me one time because and he was like, hey, you. Was that your friend? And I said, my wife, who just got up and went to the bathroom. And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, I know what you're looking for because I smell it, but you're barking up the wrong tree, man. I don't have it.
Yeah.
And he walks away, and the guy in front of me turns around. He's like, I threw it back. It's like, I think it's by your foot. And I was like,
wow.
here you go, bro. And I just handed it to him, like, there you go.
Helping him out.
That's funny.
Was that your friend?
Yeah, so Knotfest was at Saturday, and it was my wife and I, and we were there from about noon to midnight. And by the end of the day, it was like, I feel like I have, just from walking around, I feel like I've smoked an entire pack of cigarettes. Like, it's just like caked on both of us. But
It's like Vegas.
Yeah, it was like that. It was like that, but even more intense. Yeah.
So who was there?
So the bands that I saw were Lamb of God, Gojira, Trivium, Slipknot, and Megadeth.
Cool.
Yeah. It was awesome. And really enjoyed the whole thing. Honestly, I could spend this entire episode talking about it, but I won't do that. Just the one thing that I want to say is, like, Slipknot was at the very end of the day, and they had the longest set, and it was at 10 p.m., and we weren't able to get as close. The thing that sucked is Megadeth was right before Slipknot, and, like, of course I'm going to go see Megadeth.
Yeah.
One of my favorite bands of all time. And they were on the stage. There were two stages, and they were right next to each other. And so people who didn't care about Megadeth and were only there for Slipknot were, like, already waiting for on that stage. And so, like, by the time Megadeth got done, when we went in, it was, like, already full. So we were pretty far back. But the one thing I want to say, and I could talk about all the bands that I saw, but the one thing I want to say is, like, that Slipknot show, out of all the bands that I've ever seen live, that had to be the most well-executed show I'd ever seen. Like, everybody, the energy was insane. The stage, like, there was so much theatrical stuff going on, and, like, the entire 9 members of Slipknot were playing out of their minds, and there was so much energy. And Corey sounded amazing. Like, because he was just recently sick with COVID, and you would never know it. Like, he performed out of his mind, and so that, like, it was like a dream come true.
Cool.
So I had like a really, really, really good time as well, because sometimes you see bands and you're like, there are bands that are like live bands, and then there are bands that are album bands, you know, and you can definitely tell the difference. But no, man, it was crazy. It was hilarious, like, being in a crowd of like 30,000 people and staring during their encore at 2 giant screens that are just like "People Equals Shit," which is one of the best Slipknot songs ever. But it's just like, there was just something funny about, like, bonding over to this phrase. Yeah. It was great. But we got some games to talk about, and the first one on the list, I'm bummed that I haven't had a single second to check it out. But Brad, you played through all of it for review, and we both really liked the first one, and that is you playing Lost Judgment, the sequel to Judgment, or Judge Eyes.
Yes, a very appropriate game to review while I was on jury duty.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that, but yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I like to crack up when I look at the thumbnail, because it's him behind the bars.
Yeah.
Trapped, trying to get out.
Yeah.
That was my boy Brad.
That was me, yeah. Short answer, it's good. I had a damn good time playing this.
Right.
It's very much, you know, it's what you'd expect in a lot of ways. You're like, yes, the next chapter in these kind of games. But it cleans up a lot of the stuff that I didn't like about the first one and you didn't like about the first one, which was always number one was the tailing missions.
Right.
We were like, dude, these suck. These go on way too long. There's like, I did maybe like 2 or 3 in the whole game, and they were pretty short.
That's really good, yeah, because I super appreciated what Judgment was trying to do, how it was trying to kind of incorporate these investigation elements and kind of separate itself from that basic Yakuza template. But I felt like those little additions oftentimes are not the most memorable part.
I would say they kind of dragged on in the first game.
Yeah.
Where it was taking too long. I would say it feels a lot better in the sequel.
That's
a lot
fantastic.
quicker. I didn't feel like I was spending too much time like looking for something forever. I was like, where the hell is this kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Because you got to scan for clues and stuff like that. It's fairly frequent, but everything just felt like a little better paced, which really adds up over time.
Yeah. And I think pacing with Yakuza games is so essential. And sometimes they can definitely, like, I don't know. It's just, with Judgment, I felt very gripped by the story.
Yes.
And it's funny because there are a couple, like, thinking of Judgment and Yakuza Like a Dragon, my number one takeaway, I think, for both of those games is, A, I really love the characters, and B, I really like the story. I think Like a Dragon went on for too long.
I could see that, yeah.
How do you feel like the pacing was here? And second, and more important question, does it kind of live up to the highs of the more recent Yakuza entries?
So I was really into the story. The beginning was a little slow for me because it's just kind of setting everything up. I was like, okay, we're kind of getting the idea, but then it just kind of like kicks off super hard. Where I was like, oh damn,
yeah,
I got to keep going. Like I want to Like, I was like, oh, I got to wake up early for jury duty or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, I just kind of want to keep playing.
Nice. That's always great. Yeah.
Gotta find out what's happening. But yeah, it feels like a much...
Getting the facts confused.
Yeah, getting the facts confused. I would say it's definitely better than the first game.
Okay. That's wow.
I would
That's
say
high
it's better.
praise. Yeah, because
I would
really
say
love
it
the
just
first game.
kind of cleans up a lot of like the weaker elements of the first game.
Mm-hmm.
Like combat is like action again, like the older Yakuza games, and Judgment. It's not turn-based like
Right.
the newer Yakuza games, but it's just a little better. There's a newer stance you can do, which is called Snake, I believe, and a lot of it has to do with like disarming your enemies and parrying them, which I thought was fun.
There was a Co-Carnage clip from Lost Judgment with a heat action, or whatever they're called in Judgment, but basically
They're like
heat action.
EX
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just heat actions.
Basically heat actions. And it has to be one of the craziest I've ever seen in Yakuza, where that you like knock a guy into an oncoming car and he kind of bumps into it, and the car stops, and the enemy is like mad, and so he's banging on the car, and then they like open the window and drag him into the car, and there's two guys, and they uncomfortably sit him in the middle, and this is a super long heat action.
Yeah.
The two guys like sandwiching this enemy, and then they just drive off, and the battle was over.
That's the beauty of these kind of games. Is like you just get these really unexpected moments. We've talked about this. These games are a master of blending seriousness, like serious stories, and comedy. It's kind of insane how well they pull it off, because the tone can be all over the place. So that could be hard to do, but man, they really know how to do it.
Yeah.
Ben, one thing I want to talk about, which is something that you might be really into, is the case that you started on the game early on revolves around like bullying out of high school. Okay. So you kind of you go to a high school and you spend a lot of time out of high school. Yeah. And there's kind of these clubs. There's these clubs you can do that have their own side quests, and they have Persona-esque elements where you level up like your skill sheet.
That's so sick.
You need like a certain amount of charm or something to be able to do the next quest on this line. Yeah. So like the first one you do is a dance club where you dance and you train these girls how to dance, and that's like a mini game. Yeah. Then there's one where you join a robotics club where you make sick robots and you fight on like a grid-based game with these robots you make. Very cool. There's a skateboard club. Okay. With like a gang where you skateboard. That's one of the best parts of the games. They give you a skateboard early on. You can just ride around
the city?
Yes. At any time. You just use it, and you could do like board slides on it, and you can do some like kickflips and like pop shove-its.
Does it control pretty well?
It took me a little bit to get used to, because you have to hold forward, and I just wasn't used to it. But it's super basic.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It's like real basic, but there's like a skate park stuff set up at some place, so you can just grind a rail or go off a quarter pipe and stuff.
Brad, it's so... Man, you really just kind of lit me up here, because I was... The way Lost Judgment it was in my mind before this conversation is like, I love Yakuza. I loved the last game. I had so much fun talking about it with you and Huber on Spoiler Mode. It's like, I know that I'm going to play this at some point, or at least I hope I get the chance to play it at some point. It's a very busy month, but... very, very interested in it, but I feel like I know exactly what to expect. And everything that you're telling me, it's like, oh, wow, that's kind of weird, or that's kind of interesting, or I didn't. And it's just like making me amped in a way. It's kind of shaking me out of that, like almost excited complacency, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, it's because we've played like how many games like this?
Well, we've played
like 10 legit, not even kidding, like 10 games like this.
Yeah, it's just kind of one after the other after the other.
But it's the little things they add that add up.
Yeah,
that make it stand out.
That's what I wanted to touch on. Is you were kind of mentioning how into the story you were in, you liked, and that's kind of the thing about these games. Even though I know going in that it's going to be very similar in a lot of ways, and they absolutely are. They kind of always end up winning me over just on the quality of the writing, the quality of the characters.
It's like you get sucked up in these characters. Like Yagami, he's great.
Right.
You know, you just fall in love with this guy. You fall in love with the whole cast that's going on. You get invested in all their stories. You're like, man, I got to see this through to the end.
Right. And something about Like a Dragon that also really stuck with me, and I'm curious about this here, is like I am constantly amazed. Like these games have so many side missions, sub stories, across all of these games, and they're coming out, it feels like, all the time. But even in Like a Dragon, I was like, these are really interesting and entertaining, and like you said, a good mix between kind of emotional and humorous. Is that the same case here?
Oh, yeah. There's some weird side quests, that you expect, like one of them. I don't want to talk about a lot of them, but there's one where you're like tracking UFO. You're looking for UFOs essentially. And like when you like you're like, oh, this is kind of goofy. But once you start digging in, and you learn one, you're like, whoa, this is kind of heavy.
Cool.
When you like find out more.
It's a side tangent, but I saw a Tom DeLonge post on Instagram. And, he's been, like, obsessed.
With
Tom DeLonge of
UFOs,
Blink-182, he's been obsessed with aliens forever, right? And he's always sounded, like, kind of crazy in a lovable way. But it's kind of, like, weird after all of this UFO stuff has gotten declassified. He's like, I guess I don't sound so crazy now. And it's just this, like, super long, like, decade-plus, vindication that he's gotten. It's completely unexpected. And so that's just been super funny to see. A complaint that I have, it's funny because I definitely feel like a lot of my reviews of Yakuza games definitely follow a lot of the same beats. And one of the complaints that I have is that typically combat kind of runs its course before the end, where, fights aren't necessarily exciting anymore. You're kind of getting through them, or enemies feel like cheap, or it's just like not the same. It's not able to maintain the level of enthusiasm purely from combat throughout the whole thing. And so do you feel like that's the case here, or do they kind of do a better job balancing?
It's the case again.
Okay.
Of, you fight a lot of the same guys throughout the whole game. Combat doesn't evolve too much, rapidly different throughout the whole thing. But unlike, Like a Dragon, which the combat's different, but Like a Dragon, I feel like there's a lot of combat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Too much, and it would go on too long.
It would go on too long.
It doesn't go on too long.
Yeah.
It feels pretty nice to get through, and you can get away real easily if you really want to.
Yeah, it's funny because as much as I appreciate them doing the RPG combat in Like a Dragon, and I want to see them refine it, I really do. By the end of that game, I was like, I'm ready to go back to the beat 'em up, just because I feel like you get through things much faster.
You get through things a lot faster.
Yeah,
and it was nice playing this after the RPG combat or turn-based combat. It felt more refreshing when I came back to it, because I didn't play 9 games in a row with the same exact combat.
For sure.
Now, the 3 styles thing was something they did in like Yakuza 5 or 6?
Yakuza 0.
They do styles all the time.
Yeah, Yakuza 0 was the big...
Where they added it?
Yeah, and then they've had it beyond that. But...
like Yagami, I think he had 2 styles in the first game, but now he has 3.
Got it.
So, but I watched a review actually before I started like playing a lot of this because I needed a refresh.
Sure, yeah, definitely.
So it was really helpful to compare what was new.
That's actually a good question because I feel like just because of the nature of this job, I have to hold so many fictional stories into my brain and like details and stuff that like randomly I'll just have memory dumps.
Yeah.
And it's like, I remember really loving the Story of Judgment, that I've forgotten most of it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like they really lean on that knowledge in Lost Judgment?
So like the overall plot, I wouldn't say like the conclusion of the first game, I don't say it matters as much, but they definitely have characters in it frequently that they expect you to know from the first game.
Okay.
Like they'll show a character and y'all gonna be like, oh yeah, I remember them. They'll show like a quick like scene from the first game or something like that.
Gotcha.
So you can hop into this game, not playing the first game and understand the main story, but you'll miss out on a lot of like the quote unquote bonds with characters.
Definitely.
Like a lot of Yakuza games, I guess.
Tell me about the mini games. Any big...
Well, I mean, it's
you mentioned
like
the
school
club
clubs
stuff.
is a lot of like the mini games, like the skateboarding one. There's like you go to a skate park and rack up a score. There's like skateboard racing where you race other people on skateboards.
The reason I bring it up because I think I remember you mentioning this on Slack that you have a Sega Master System in your home.
You do.
That is sick.
Yeah, it's cool. Your office, yeah.
What is on there? Just out of curiosity.
I'm trying to think of the first. There was only one game on it. I think it was Alex
Kidd?
Kidd,
Sure.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's what was on there first. But you could buy other ones. You could find them throughout the thing. But there's Virtua Fighter. Oh, there's like a 2-player mode at the main screen, and there's that Sonic Fighters game.
Oh my god.
That we played before. I think they added that. There's Virtua Fighter 5 on there, I think too.
Cool. Yeah, that's been in
some
several
motors.
of them.
There's like Hang On. There's Space Harrier, and there's some other motorcycle game I wasn't too familiar with in there. But
Cool.
I spent a lot of time playing darts for some reason.
Yeah.
Just love darts. There's drone racing too.
Nice. The drone racing was in the first one,
Yeah.
and I remember it just being
It's just
okay.
okay. It's
Yeah,
just okay.
yeah. Yeah, it's so funny, Brad, because I went from this like I'm looking forward to this, but I don't know when I'll have time for it. Now I'm like, man, this sounds like it's reminding me
So
of
that's
my
what my experience was like when I was
joy.
playing with it. When I got it for review, I was like, oh, cool. Like,
Right.
I'm
yeah.
like, cool.
Yeah. Exactly.
Then I started playing. I'm like, oh yeah. I love these
yeah.
games.
Right. And it's so funny because I think, and the audience hears us talk about video games all the time, and I think a lot of the referring, like I'm thinking about Far Cry, I'm thinking about Call of Duty, I'm thinking about things where like we kind of get to this point where it's like, yeah, they really need to mix it up. They really need to inject some life into this, and it's like these kinds of games are releasing all the time.
Yep, like once a year.
And we're still able to generate so much excitement. And
I think a lot of it helps because of their narrative. It's really easy to get invested in these kind of games through that. And like everything is good enough, or good. That sounds maybe a little too harsh, but it's good, and I had fun doing it all. But like we were saying earlier, they really kind of just add little things here and there that make it more enjoyable and different from the other games.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely relying on the formula.
Yeah.
But the trade-off for that, the kind of like agreement that they make with you is it's like, yes, this will probably be very familiar to you, but the story and characters will be good to the point where like you won't mind. And I think that formula is so well established as well. Yeah.
And it's not just Kamurocho, this game. Like, obviously, you take place in Kamurocho, but the other part, a lot of it's in Yokohama, which was in Like a Dragon, the city from Like a Dragon.
Oh,
so
cool.
you're there, you get a different
Good city.
perspective.
Yeah.
It's cool going to some of the same areas from that game. You're like, oh, yes, I remember this.
That naturally prompts a question that I don't want answered is like, do you run into like Ichiban?
I won't tell you.
Yeah.
I can tell you off air if you want.
No, I don't think I want to know. In fact, I wish those words hadn't come out of my mouth. But Brandon, we've been talking about Lost Judgment, which is a very familiar kind of. It's almost like coming home for us.
Right.
And I feel like this next game is your home. It's like your warm blanket, and that is Marvel Future Revolution. I have to say really quickly before you get into it,
Copious notes.
how yes, so how charming it's been. I would say, like, over the last month, you've said to me several times, we're like, can't wait to talk about this on French Trap. I've got so much loaded up, I'm ready to go. And I'm just like, all right, sweet, let's do it.
It's such a fascinating game. I appreciate you letting me take time on your show to talk about this mobile game.
We should probably talk about, because I imagine a fair number of listeners aren't familiar with what it is, so maybe like a top level.
This is basically Ultimate Alliance on your phone, like this, but in like an MMO form. It's a weird, like hero-based third-person action-adventure game in an MMO sense, and that's like one of my favorite things about it. Like, if you're playing Avengers or if you're playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance, you're queuing up for a very specific mission with people. In this, you just go to a world and Doctor Strange goes running by and he's going to do something just like you would see in an MMO. And Marvel has had MMOs before, DC has had MMOs before, but you were always like creating your own character. And so it's fun. It's one of my favorite things actually when I booted it up. I was like, oh, that's a clever get out of jail free card to set up for the story. It's about the convergence. And so the MCU right now is dealing with like different dimensions and how that is affecting reality. This is basically like a bunch of Earths just kind of slammed into each other. And so we're now on this planet that's all these different universes, and then now they're like kind of forced to live with each other. So there's like Midgardia, which is Earth and Asgard put together. Like Asgard had to leave and came to Earth and like settled there. So like everyone's all fantasy themed. So like, like Spider-Man and Captain America and everybody. And they'll say, like, I play as, Captain's my main character primarily. And whenever I have to do missions with Cap, every now and then in dialogue, I wish they did it a lot more, but Cap will be like, oh, that's me. Like, they'll actually say, or people will comment on that. But it's...
I have to say, two quick things. Right out of the gate, I appreciate, because they do have all of these different looks for the characters and kind of like different styles and stuff, and I think that's really cool. But I also appreciate, because you get a lot of the gear piecemeal, and it's nice where you can separate what you have equipped to how you look. And
They're
so
two totally separate things.
Yeah, and so it's so awesome being like, this gear completely clashes with the style that I'm going for, but it doesn't matter because I can just change it aesthetically in the thing. And it was a really brutal decision for me because right at the beginning of the game, you get to pick, like, you get a free hero.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, they're all so good.
Yeah.
So that was tough.
They're only like it's only 200 crystals or something.
To get
It's
a
like
new one?
it's not
Okay.
that bad. Yeah. Once I realized, I could just buy the other one. I didn't know. I thought it was. I was like, I would not have been surprised if it was $1 each. I'd be like, because hey, they gotta make money.
Right.
And I was like, I actually have the currency to just ding, like get them all.
Ooh.
But it's very smart in that it's not like, obviously if I'm going to be playing something like Ultimate Alliance, I'm going to want a controller, especially if I'm going to be playing co-op, like couch co-op with friends. If I'm going to be playing any beat-em-up style game, like I'm going to want a controller for that. If I'm going to be playing an MMO, I'm going to want a controller or a mouse and keyboard. This just seems very self-aware of what it is and what its constraints are. And it's funny because like we were just talking about like getting new equipment. One of the things that I love that the game does is it's very like, this just happened. Do you want it? And you can just be like, no, go away, pop up. Or like, yes, right now. And then it's like, cool, you're in. Like, hey, this fight is queuing right now. Do you want to just jump in? You're like, yep. And then boom, you're in the queue. Like, hey, you just unlocked this new blitz where you can fight Red Skull. You want to do it? Yep. And then 10 seconds later, I'm doing it. And then like, I'm with 3 dudes. And then 2 minutes later, that was fun. You know, like it's so easy to access this stuff. With gear, you can customize your character, and then once you do, they're locked. It'll never mess with their image unless you specifically go into the customization screen. If you get a gear that's better than what you have, a little button will pop up on the bottom that's like, oh, this button, you just hit a button, boom, thanks. Like, because I have no idea what's equipped on Cap right now. I know what style I have, but like I don't care if I got that from Midgard or whatever. But the speed of it is like, man, this is what Avengers should have done. Like, it's such a big hassle to like queue up and get into a mission.
Yeah.
And you're like essentially repeating these things over and over again. But just this vibe of like, no, I'm just going to Sakaar, which was the place from Thor Ragnarok, and I'm just going to run around and do stuff. And like, they'll have bosses that just pop up on the map. So like, oh, MODOK's here. And it's fun because like sometimes that'll happen right next to me. I'm just like, oh, cool, there's Magneto's right here, sweet. And they'll start fighting Magneto. And then like, here comes Spider-Man, here comes another Cap, here comes, Storm, and it's just neat to see like all the players just converge. And like something like that doesn't sound exciting when you're like, oh, I fought this boss like a bunch of times. But if it's just like on my phone, if I'm just like literally watching Milo and then just kind of like peer over my shoulder, just like, oh, cool, nice, I finished that quest.
When I downloaded this game, I didn't really have any expectations for it. I didn't know anything about it, and I was like, "Oh, there's a ton of story in this, and it's like really well presented."
Yeah, it's some of the stuff is really interesting. Yeah, there's like dumb side quests, or like my child, and you'll run out. But like, I'm surprised when you go to.
I should say I have not played a fraction of what you have, so you would know better than I.
Thor's not a playable character, and so when you go to Midgardia, it's like all about him and Sif and Loki and Laufey and like all, and all of them are stylized very differently. Like the Tony Stark is clearly doing a Robert Downey Jr. impression, but like a lot of them definitely are like just like off doing their own things.
Yeah.
And when you go to the place from the first Guardians where the Nova Corps is, half of the Nova Corps has been like wiped out because they like figured out to do something with their helmets and made them all crazy. And so there's like all these soldiers that have friends that have now like become villains, and you have to like help all of them. And I'm like, oh, this is like, I skip all of that stuff when I play a second character, but when I'm like actually going through with Cap, I'm like, no, I want to, I take I don't wait until they say everything. Like I'll just listen. I'll just read the lower thirds. But I just made like a quick list of like, why the hell doesn't Avengers do any of this stuff? Like Avengers is like, you're usually playing 1 or maybe 4 people, maybe 2. This, it's like I said, with the bosses that pop up and stuff, there's so many things. I'm like, I just did that with 8 people. I just did that with 2 people. I just did like, I'm constantly trying out new things. The maps are like, I actually care about the maps. Like in Avengers, you like go to a forest. I'm like, cool.
Right.
Like some aim base. And like, one of my favorites was there's like Hydra City. It's basically like Hydra just took over New York. And so there's Hydra banners everywhere. Everyone's living in fear. Spider-Man's all like noir Spider-Man, so he's like in hiding and all like acting like a spy.
Yes. What was it? What was the Spider-Man game where you
Shattered Dimensions?
Yes.
Where they had the different floor, the stealth
really cool.
Spider-Man stuff.
Man, I know this isn't true, but it feels like there are 3 locations in the entire Avengers game.
There's not, That's why they added the apocalypse, the future. And it's like, oh, here we go. And the other thing, but it just a bunch of dirt and some crash robots. To me, the even bigger thing is enemy variety. There's robots or humans with assault rifles and Avengers, and that's it. And this is just like weird aliens and killing
Yes,
prisoners.
yes.
And there's one arena where Deadpool is hosting the Sakaar arena, where that's what Jeff Goldblum hosts in Ragnarok. And so it's pretty tough. Like I've yet to win it. Like we just get like annihilated every time I try to do it.
Yeah.
My cap is at 95. I'm almost at 100. So I'll like go back and give it a shot then. But it's just like Deadpool come in and like, all right, the next thing is gonna be this crazy thing, and then like I see some boss. I'm like, I'm sure that's a reference to a Thor something, but I don't recognize that person.
Yeah.
Whereas like in the Avengers game, it was like, yay, we got. Maestro. And they're like, that's it. And in this game, they're like, Maestro, here's Magneto as a boss in some random mode. No story thing, just fight Magneto. I'm like, great.
Avengers
so
made
a lot of enemy types, a lot of variety.
Abomination and Taskmaster so boring. Like it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they wouldn't be that boring. Like, that's the thing is like, all of this is spicing up what is otherwise just run around and beat stuff
Right.
up.
Yeah.
Which is, we'll get into the auto battling, but it's just a matter of, it knows what mood I'm in when I'm playing it. It knows kind of what my expectations are for exploring this world. It knows I've already seen all the MCU films and shows. It knows like.
So that's actually something that I want to throw at you, because in my time with this game so far, my brief time with this game, I agree that it knows exactly what it is, and it's surprised me in ways that I didn't expect. But it's entering this weird, really weird territory for me, where like. I think it is well made that when I play it, I'm envisioning like a game that you remove kind of all the mobile elements from it. You give me more control, I think, with a controller or a mouse and keyboard. And I think I would like it way better. Like it's good to the point that I wish I was playing it on something else, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because like they make, I think, smart concessions with combat, but I'll definitely go into a fight and be like, I think you kind of made me feel like I had control, but when I really stop and think about this, I feel like the fight just kind of finished itself in a way.
The big difference between that are like these bosses that you do at least like for about 10 levels, you'll square off against like maybe 2 or 3 bosses. And so there are definitely these encounters that do these big, clear MMO AoE things
right.
that you're toast. Like if you don't see that stuff coming. And so,
and something I think is smart about the AoEs that they do, at least it feels like to me, it's like if this was like a typical like action game or an MMO, I think those AoE notifications would be a lot shorter, but they're almost like aware that you're playing on phone and they kind of time them appropriately.
Yeah.
So you're never like, oh, like I fumbled the controls. Like I feel like you have plenty of time to recognize the situation and move out accordingly, which I appreciate.
And I like they have fun kind of pattern things. Like there's one big like Hydra bot that you'll fight that does these like 4 jumps, and you can build up a little stamina meter and dodge 3 times. And the dodge is really nice. It's actually in the farthest right hand corner, so like I've never missed a dodge. I can always like whoop, like go back to that button, and it does this thing 4 times, so you can't dodge every time. You just have to see it's about to start doing that and okay, run. Like there's sometimes things will have an enemy pattern that it's like I can't just get out of the way. I have to know what it's going to be doing for the next 10 seconds and get clear.
Right.
Or there's one guy that does an AoE that's like almost the size of the whole boss arena, but you can see him charging it up, and so you just have to you're like, oh, okay, I gotta get out of the way. It's funny to me because the budget will show up in different ways. The music I turned off immediately. The music is god awful. It's like it's like elevator like doo doo doo. I'm like, this isn't matching anything. Like it's just it's like you're on hold and there's this music that's kind of like playing out separate of anything else. It's not like you start to fight Loki and some badass track starts playing. So I turned it off and haven't missed it since. They have like the classic MMO thing of like the guy in the battlefield who's like, tell my son I love him. It's like, he's right there. You know, like you could tell him
yourself.
We can wave and probably get his attention, or like, just the most dangerous, enemies slaughtering things. And then like 20 feet away, there's the camp of like, we're safe over here. Like, what?
Yeah.
And it just kind of has, I was telling Ben, it has this like EDF kind of vibe. Like it has that kind of budget where it's like, it looks cool, but it also kind of feels like a budget game, as in Earth Defense Force. Just the way people kind of look, and the heroes all look good, but like you go into a zone and there's like 5 NPCs that they just Someone will be like, talk to my brother, and it's like the same guy.
Well, what makes EDF work is it is extremely aware of its budget, and it leans into that, into how it presents itself in the story and everything.
So the craziness of like the whole convergence, like talks about, like there's one mission you have to do where like the joke is that Spider-Man never get anything done because they're always talking to each other, and they're just like, oh my god, this one fight I did, blah, blah. It's like, will you get to work, Spider-Man? So like it's aware that there's chaos. Like you log into the world and you go, Omega Flight is the name of your like Avengers group of all the, it's the Avengers of the Avengers. And you go into this world, and when you first queue up, it's you and like 200 players just standing there because you're all just like checking your mailbox, and you haven't like run into the area yet. And it fits. Like there's nothing about this like, okay, well this looks dumb and MMO-y. It's like, no, that's the whole, that's why Hank Pym and Nick Fury and Rocket Raccoon and Tony Stark all got together to figure this out. Yeah. Because all of these heroes were smashed together, and it's like we gotta figure out what the most important threats are and try to like get away from the chaos. They do a thing called Squad XP, which I think Avengers should do, where every time you level up one character, it also dumps into a squad group that levels up everybody. So if I just focus on one character and get them to 100, which is kind of tricky, then if I go back and like, I'm going to do Spider-Man now, he is way more powerful than your original hero was because he's getting all the boons that they got. And that's great. That like, if I'm going in and like, level up Captain Marvel, if she got any like fun costume boons or anything, I just give them all to Cap. I just put them all into like a group storage, and then he pulls that out. If Cap unlocks some cool like outfit thing or something like he doesn't need, put it into storage, and like Doctor Strange grabs it and he puts it on. Like, so there's a lot of, again, it's just it's a game that is tapping into all of my worst. It's you with microtransactions. Like you with buying games. I'm worse about microtransactions. You're worse about games.
Yeah.
It's you with games. It's just me when I see that little XP grind, when I see the level go up, when I see the squad XP go up.
Right.
When I start a new day to mobile app and like, you can refresh all your stuff and go get them. Like I can't. We got the guild too, Easy Allies.
You're actually talking about something that I feel like I've been going through with mobile games, because not that long ago in Frame Trap I talked about Near Reincarnation and all the positive things that it was doing, but I've reached a point where like it feels like work booting it up.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I really appreciate the stories that they're doing, but it's like, truly, like I'm going to try to go into as much granular detail quickly as I can, where it's like, okay, I log in and I'll get the daily bonus, and then there's an event bonus, and then there's an anniversary bonus, and so I'm clicking through all these screens, and it's like, okay, I got to go to my inbox, I got to redeem all these things to make sure that I get them, and then, okay, I can upgrade my weapons if I do these quests, but I only have like 2 hours to do them, so I got to go and I got to do that, and then I got to make sure that my team is right, and that they have their weapons equipped, and then they have the sub-weapons equipped, and then the companions, I got to level those up, and it's like I can level up every single part of every character, and it's just like, I understand that they need the grind, and they need, it's a living game, and so they need to constantly have players to have things to do, but like, I get to a point pretty quickly in a lot of these mobile games where it's like the checklist is just kind of exhausting. Yeah. Like, in a single day, it might not be that bad, but when you're like, okay, I've got to do this every day forever, if you're trying to commit to it like that, it just wears me out in a way that I definitely
but it's funny,
bounce
like,
off of.
What wears me out is like Overwatch. It's Call of Duty. Like I gotta perform. It's like, okay, it's a new match. Like, okay, I can't miss it. Okay. Just like every second, like that, it feeds into a tension where it's like I get this kind of tension just going through the day, like worrying about like what equipment will break or what, so like it's funny that a lot of like, it's why I couldn't really get into Counter-Strike, like when I play games and I like really get matched against a really tough AI or a really, challenging player base. It's like, why am I stressing myself out like this? So in a strange way, all that dumb work calms my brain. I don't know why. It's a very strange thing.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, absolutely.
There's like,
I think that's very interesting.
Yeah,
actually.
like my Galaxy of Hero, like 80% of my playtime in Galaxy of Heroes every day is like not playing. It's just me going through the menus and figuring out what character I want to level up next and managing resources and all that stuff. And, it's wild.
I agree with you to a certain extent, because the task list and kind of going through that stuff can be extremely satisfying. Honestly, I think it's part of the reason why I love JRPGs so much, but I think the reason why I tend to gravitate towards more traditional JRPGs as opposed to like gacha games is there's an inevitability to that checklist that gacha games don't have, where it's like, I can do all that work in a gacha game, and I still might not get the thing that I want.
Right.
Even if I spend money, I may not get the thing that I want. Whereas in a JRPG, it's like, I know that if I do this side quest, I will get this thing. I will, I know where the pieces are, and then I can put them into place. And so that's definitely a part of it as well. And so I'm bringing up all of this, right, to ask, is that still, all of these things that I'm describing, is that still very much a part of Future Revolution, and it doesn't bother you, or is it done in an exceptional way, or does this separate itself from the typical fare?
I think the main thing, like, I like Star Wars because I like the combinations. I liked getting the Phoenix Squad together and leveling them up. That was fun. I liked when they were like competitive now. So if some event happened, they're like, ooh, only Phoenix Squad for this. I was like, well, my Phoenix Squad kicks ass, so great. Like my strongest team is a bounty hunter team, like the OG bounty. Granted, Django and Boba Fett are on the same team. That wouldn't happen, but still.
Doesn't matter.
It's fun getting the Sith together and like doing some event, Whereas with this new game, it's just fun to see Cap kick ass. Like there's one thing that Ultimate Alliance didn't do, and it broke my heart, was everybody had a capped amount of abilities that was always on your bar. So like if you saw my Cap doing something, what you see is what you get. In this, every character has 7 abilities, and you can only have 5. So there's 2 or 3 abilities that you can toss that I actually have saved money and not even leveled up.
Yeah.
And one of them, I feel bad because it's wonderful when people give it to me. I'm like, oh, thanks. It's some like defense boost that you just get by being near a Captain America. But you get like 4 shields that like spin around you. Cool. It's like, what the? No.
That sounds fun.
It's like a flashy thing. It's like, that's like Doctor Strange magic stuff. Like if it was like underneath me or something, just visually, I'm like, that's a little weird. So I'm just like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I've mostly focused on like, offensive stuff. But it's just fun for me while I'm cutting the podcast and setting it to auto battle to just look down and be like, oh, cool. Okay, I'll finish that quest. All right.
Boop, boop, boop.
Else.
I definitely
with
feel
another
like,
character, because if I'm going through a new area with Cap, I do want to see the story. I do want to know like what's going on. I just finished Sakaar, and it was pretty cool.
Feel like I have this monkey brain when it comes to like stat allocation in RPGs, where I really have to fight myself to not just put things in damage. Like at the cost of everything. Yeah, and sometimes it works out, and sometimes it's the wrong decision. But
even stuff that's like, if your health drops below 30%, it increases your health, and it's like, if my health dropped below 30%, I failed. It's like, get out of here. Damage all the time.
I think you would be proud. I also picked Captain America as my
nice.
boy. Yeah,
it just feels good. He's the leader of the team.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
A fun crew. Storm, I thought was a fun pick out of all the X-Men. They went over Storm over Wolverine. I was like, I'm proud of you.
Yeah. Storm is sick.
Yeah, Storm's cool.
She says the word storm in like 10 of her combat quotes. Storm! Here comes the storm!
I think I noticed that because they have you go through a bunch of characters at the beginning and you play as Storm, and
But and everyone gets their own cool little intro. Anyway. So before they like get into the world, like MMO, sometimes we'll have like a class intro.
Yeah.
Spider-Man gets his own story where like he's doing a thing, and then another Spider-Man shows up like, come on, and they like jump through the portal. So
you mentioned the Easy Allies Guild, and
which is not very active, admittedly. There's not much to do. We can they give us points for playing together, but in Galaxy of Heroes, there's a lot of stuff we just naturally contribute. It's just like, give us money and go do stuff together, basically.
You're actually touching on you're basically answering my question, but I love the idea. So 2 mobile game experiences that I've had recently, Sinnoh Alice and Call of Duty Mobile, which I actually think Call of Duty Mobile is very good.
Amanda's in there somewhere.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Did some op stuff.
Like in Sinnoh Alice, you have these big Coliseum battles that you kind of do with your guild, and in Call of Duty Mobile, they really push you to be like, just we'll have you quick join a guild and you can get in there. And I always think that that's so neat, having this game where on your phone where you're just so connected to other people. But my experience, and maybe this is just the way that I play, I quickly forget that they're even there. Like, you don't really have good ways to communicate with each other, or like they almost feel like AI that you're with in a way, even though they're really,
because it has the MMO vibe. They really push the MMO chat, and that's actually one thing that's been really funny because I haven't played MMOs in a long time, and like MMO chat is just watching people complain about MMOs is really, really funny. It's a mobile MMO, just like these updates, man. I'm like, calm down. I've been Final Fantasy 11. Believe me, I care. I know.
Yeah.
I know you get invested, but like we're all.
Well, I think that's the thing is I just don't feel that connection that I felt in other in other games.
They all do it differently. Clash of Clans was my favorite, and I've never played a game that did something like this, because in Clash, when we would go up against other guilds, you would have to pick a camp. So you would look at camps and you'd be like, okay, I think that player and me are most similarly matched. Like, there are some camps I couldn't even touch, but I'm going to try to go get this one. And my guild leader would be like, all right, go for it. And then while I was trying to take that camp, the whole guild could watch. So you would like click on it happening in real time, and you could watch it in real time.
Yeah.
And so like when I was done, and like if I did it and won, like I'd back out and chat, which would be like, yeah, like you did
that's
it.
cool.
Like,
That's cool.
But yeah, all games handle it differently. Like chat's way more active in Galaxy of Heroes, and like in my guilds, like we have 20 players that play a ton. That are all like some are much more high level than me, but like they're not. They don't need me for anything. They're
they're just fine.
I can't help them with gains. We're all just contributing to the guild, and we get benefits for it. But
That's also always a debilitating experience with these mobile games. It's just like you run into like whales or people who just put in so much time, and you're like, yeah, I can't. I am of no help to you ever. Yeah.
I've even just kind of scratched the surface on the Rockstar Social Club. There's a lot of stuff that happens there, a lot of stuff you can unlock, and both in GTA and Red Dead. I was like, in another world, I did a lot there, but I just never didn't really have the time. But and there's the auto battling, which is funny because there were a lot of people. Huber like sent me an article. He's like, an interesting read, where somebody was like losing their mind. They're like, what's the point? Why am I auto battling?
It definitely
why
felt
am I
like
even playing it.
Maybe it probably wasn't intentional, knowing Huber, but it definitely felt like a slight towards you.
Well,
he's like, check out this article.
He's trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
You're like,
exactly.
And I'm sure.
Yes.
I'm sure. Hey, if I have that moment, that intervention, Jones, I see you're playing a lot of mobile games. I'm worried about you. I just want to make sure. Did you boot up your PS5 or your Xbox like that? I did. I played. Okay, good. I'm just checking.
The article was like raging against auto battle,
I'm
right?
gonna be playing Riders Republic. Yeah. Well, this guy wrote. I don't remember. I wish I could direct people. It was basically like, what am I doing? And it's what you just said with not Sino Alice, but with the Nier game, where there's this part of you that's just enriched, like Star Wars fan, Marvel fan, where I'm like, I just love being in this world. And then there's this part of me slowly rising that's like, what are you doing? There's so many more valuable things you could be doing with your time. And eventually those two things will cross, and I'll put the game down. Hasn't happened with Galaxy of Heroes 6 years later, but a lot of mobile games, like I've bounced off.
Yes,
and
you're perfectly describing what I go through.
So it's just really interesting to have developers be like, we know that's going to happen, so we'll try to keep people for as long as we can, or... That's why when stuff like Destiny or Adventures comes out and they're like, oh, our players went away. It's like, what did you think? That's okay. Like, we have to be in an ecosystem where that's fun. You have to let them go play Madden and go play Battlefield because they, that's good for you. And then they'll come back later.
Yeah, you got to get them
add
to come
more
back.
stuff.
It's funny that you kind of mentioned the Wii aspect of like your Marvel fandom or your Star Wars fandom, because going through that with Nier, it's like that's why I like this game. Like if the Nier stuff wasn't here,
of course.
I wouldn't get hardly anything out of it, or maybe nothing out of it at all. But it's like it's being retrofitted into this format, and it's like this thing I love is this super grand action RPG that's single player, and so it's like it's taking a lot of those aspects and putting it into this thing, but the format of it is also kind of like keeping me at arm's length, where it's like, yeah, I can watch ads for mobile games that I'm never going to play, so I can get this currency, so I can pull the slot machine in this Nier game. Like, it's a weird thing to kind of like wrestle with, like, and what you're enjoying and why you're enjoying it. Yeah. But the auto battling, I think we got away from the point that you were trying to make.
It basically is just, again, one of those things where it's like, I wouldn't want auto battling in Ultimate Alliance because I'm sitting on my couch with a Nintendo controller in my hand and I want to play, play this game. Whereas in this, it's like, yeah, I don't know if that quest you sent me on is to the left or right. I would love it if Cap just ran toward it.
Yeah.
And then what's nice is if I hit an ability or I hit my basic attack or I jump or I move the controller or dodge, they'll do it. It's auto in the absence of control. So like if you start controlling, you immediately are controlling it. And then like the moment you put it down, he'll just take off. So it's fun. Like if I'm fighting a boss, even if I'm directly fighting the boss, I'll still have auto battle on, because if I'm like, trying to move away and then like he pauses or like I know he's about to land and I can get in there and do an attack, I'll let go because he's going to activate my abilities way faster than I could, so it's just nice to let go, have Cap run in and he'll just, pop all of my cooldowns, and then like all my 10-second cooldowns will start. I'll manually run out, and it's interesting. It's for like an action game. It's like, again, this would not work at all if this was not on mobile, but it is, and it's just kind of self-aware in that way. So
You, I think it was Huber making a joke about the auto battling stuff, and you very elegantly and very succinctly kind of gave this great defense that I was like, that's a really good point. I remember thinking to myself at the time, and it was, you were like, yeah, it's auto battling, but I'm getting to watch Captain America do sick things. Like there's still that inherent joy to it. And I'm like, that is a really good point. Like a big reason why we go and we watch these movies, right? And I think about the final battle in Endgame, for instance, is it's just you're watching these characters, purely watching, right? You're not participating in this spectacle. And so I can think that is a good defense for enjoying this type of thing where you're like, yeah, I just want to watch superheroes do cool shit, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, why do we need to pretend like it has to be something more than that? And I thought that was very good.
If you're hungry for Marvel combat like that, there's many places you can go.
Yeah.
And like I said, in the live sense, in the MMO sense, if like Storm goes running by me, like I don't care in most senses, can't tell if that person's directly in control of the character. Like, Iron Man just came in and dropped a bunch of bombs on this boss and we won. It was cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm curious what kind of content they add. There's a dark zone that I haven't done because I think at like 99 I unlock it.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of people talk about dark zones. I'm like, well. And I guess like the enemies popping up is like a big deal later on in Endgame because I hear them like complaining about it. Like, MODOK hasn't spawned today. I'm like, okay, that doesn't matter. Bother me right now, but maybe in a month or so I'll be like, where's MODOK? But
this is a broader question that I don't think we really have time to get into.
I'm going to take up the whole show today.
Please.
With Marvel
Future
Revolution. And then we're all going to download and play it at the end of the show.
I think the other problem that I have with mobile games is not necessarily the games themselves, but like with my phone, there's so much I can do with it at once. It's like, I could watch a movie or catch up on TV, or I could turn on Twitch or get on YouTube or listen to music, or I could get invested in these games that have a lot going on. And in a way, I think it's just too much, and I don't have the focus, I think, when I open up my phone to be as committed to one thing as I would like. Whereas like back in the day when I would bring my Game Boy with me, it's like, nah, man, like, you just got Link's Awakening. Like, you're just going to play that. That's all you have. Yeah. And in a way, I almost missed that. Like, I think
the focus.
Yeah.
This is all it does.
The amount of choices seems like such a blessing, but I think it can be such a curse.
And so it's like a little bit of both. Like I said, when I was cutting your Deathloop review, like I was auto battling, like in the corner, like Cap was running around, like while I was editing it, and I could just kind of like send him on quests and then look down and be like, oh, you finished that? Okay, go do that. But when I like fought Thanos with all my characters at level 55, like you go and you take on Thanos just by yourself. I did that on the couch outside, like with Sophie sitting there, and you're like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Thanos voice actor sounds a lot like Kratos. He's definitely he's not like the considerate, Josh Brolin. He's very
growly,
very deep.
huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's fun. My Black Widow kind of looks like Calamity Jane. She's kind of got a Western vibe going on.
Cool.
It's fun. And yeah, like if you're out in the MMO sense, like seeing some crazy Storm come up, like what is that hair?
Yeah.
Storm, I gotta find that wig.
Yeah. Brendan, this is the most excited I think I've ever been to bring a game to Frame Trap, and to you specifically. And it kind of has a weird twist in it, because I think it was on a group stream. I was mentioning how I've been in this Rockstar kick as the next game that I will talk about. We'll get into it, but I've been playing a lot of Rockstar games, and I don't know why, but I just fall into these weird holes.
As someone who's known you for years,
yes,
you get into kicks.
I do. I absolutely do.
Things, and you go all in on that franchise.
Yeah.
Like you just did Battlefield.
Dude, okay, to
Star Wars was a good run.
It is what it is. Kick is the perfect way to describe it. Not only have I been playing a bunch of Rockstar games, but as soon as I was fully inserted into this kick, I went online and I was like, okay, I don't have Manhunt 2. I bought Manhunt 2. I was like, okay, I don't have Liberty City Stories. I bought Liberty City Stories. Okay, I don't have Vice City Stories. I bought that. Got a bunch of stuff on my phone. But anyway, I was talking about Manhunt on a group stream. And I was like, I've never played Bully, and you've always spoke so highly about it. I really want to play Bully. And I was traveling, and so I was like, I don't have a way to play Bully. And then I randomly saw that Bully was on the phone.
Right.
And I was like,
Which I've not checked out.
That can't be good. But I had been playing GTA 3 on my phone, and I was like, what's funny about GTA 3 on the phone, and I'll get into it later, is it's great until you get like halfway through the game and the missions are so bullshit that you're like, I cannot do this on a phone. Like the amount of bullshit in these missions is not possible on a phone. But anyway, I was like, I'll give it a chance. And I booted up Bully. And I am shocked at how good the mobile version is.
Cool.
Like,
I bet the classes are kind of cool. I bet they reinvented it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because they're all mini games basically. So
it's not perfect. I definitely think like switching targets in combat doesn't work well on mobile, but like moving around, the classes, mechanics, everything, even like how frequently it autosaves and how quickly you can move through menus and stuff. I was like, this seems like a fantastic way to play this game.
Cool.
Like I have in terms of like console ports to phone, this has to be up there with like one of the best that I've ever played.
Cool.
Like really shocked. Like I think the GTA 3 on phone experience is commendable in a lot of ways. This blows it out of the water.
Well, this is
for sure.
in part why I'm enjoying the auto battling so much in Future Revolution is like traditionally 3D combat on mobile is just not.
Well,
it's not great.
At least so far in Bully, I'm not done with the game yet. I'm in chapter 2, I want to say.
There's not like a crazy amount of combat.
Well, that's what I want to say. The combat is very, very simple, right, for the most part. And so I think that really actually benefits it on the phone. But talking about it, I realized that I've always kind of had, maybe even subconsciously, this kind of stigma about Bully that's completely unfair, where I'm like, oh, that seems neat, but it's just like high school GTA or middle school GTA. And so I think I was always like, yeah, I'll get to it, but like I think I'd kind of always written it off because of that. I love this game. It's so good.
Yeah, the world is good. It's a cozy place to be. I keep coming back to it.
It's so good and so charming, and way better than I think that like that middle school GTA thing would have you believe. The characters are so well written in a way to where like they're kind of scummy, but they're not like GTA scummy. It's like this caricaturized version of like things that you went through in middle school, and it's exaggerated in a way that allows for all of this chaos to be enjoyable and not be weird, right? Like it's like an exaggerated feeling of what you went through, and like the missions that you're doing are so much fun. Like there's one where this nerdy kid wants to give a speech as a class president.
I was actually going to ask how that was on mobile because the shooting stuff.
I had no problem. Cool. Yeah,
that gets a little stressful
because he's giving this speech about why he wants to be class president, but the jocks want to interrupt his speech, and so they'll come and they'll throw stuff at him, and you have to be like on the balcony shooting them away. And as he's giving this speech, if the bullies hit him, like dialogue will appear like, "Oh, why are you doing this to me?" or like, "This sucks," and it's just so much fun to go through. Like there's an inherent, it's like a really funny, charming game, and the class stuff. I love the class stuff. That might be my favorite aspect of all, is how your character progresses, because when you go to class, depending on the type of class that you go to, you get a new thing for your character. So if you pass chemistry, you can make new things in your lab. If you pass English, you can have more dialogue options with characters. And I'm like, this is so cool and a relatively non-traditional way of doing this, right? You think about progression in games, and even in GTA, like 5, for instance, your driving stat goes up as you drive. Like it's very much, you think of the typical RPG, like I beat up dudes, I get experience, I get stronger. But here it's like, no, if I go to English and I play this little mini game where I unscramble words and I can do it well enough that I pass, now I'll be able to talk to girls better or whatever it is.
If you go to art class, you can talk to chicks better.
Yes, that's what it is. Sorry. Yeah, I think I was getting them mixed up there. But the general point is true of just how it kind of takes very basic game mechanics and filters them through this school system.
And you can skip all
in
of
a
it.
really interesting way. Yeah.
I think you have to go to the first class because it's like a story thing, but then you never have to go to class again.
Whoa.
And if you're on campus and trying to do a mission and you haven't gotten to that like GTA classic like yellow spot to start the mission, and the bell goes off, then the security or what's the word I'm looking for, like the prefects basically will chase you down, and you can get defensive options later where you like punch him in the stomach and run away.
Whoa.
And I love you kind of get like finishing moves when you're beating up people, but it's not. Whoa. Yeah. So what makes it great is your finishing move isn't like stomping on their face. It's like I'm gonna like give you a snake bite and go on your arm, or like I'm gonna slap
Can you give someone a wedgie?
Yeah.
I haven't given anybody a wedgie yet, but
I think you can give them a wedgie and you can embarrass them too. So like if someone's beat, you can like insult them on top of it, and they'll like be mortified and run around them and laugh at them and like
That's funny.
And your weapons are like you can throw marbles and they'll just trip, or
fun,
like
yeah.
you can throw eggs at them or stink bombs
It's
or
like
whatever.
Home Alone. Fucking
But again,
heat
think
action.
GTA
Yes,
3.
exactly.
Think that GTA 3 like where like I remember when like PS3 when I was playing Uncharted and I would like move Nathan Drake just a little bit and like his whole body would move, or you would like turn him and he would always like turn fluidly. This is like the GTA 3 to San Andreas era where like I move left and the character like boom, it's like will immediately turn like 90 degrees. So it like even as pretty as this game has looked, if I play it on PC or play it like in the better versions, it's like, oh, I forgot. Like that control is still, even if you want to be kind of subtle in these interiors, it's like the character is just very wobbly.
That's actually something that I appreciate, at least on mobile, and it is interesting because I think we're going to have very different experiences just because I've been playing on mobile. But like GTA 3, I think just in general, but also on mobile, it's like he can run for 2 seconds and then he's tired. Like this, who made this? Like it's just kind of a pain. Whereas in Bully, I'm flying everywhere. Like the movement speed is so fast, and it's like if I need to get there, like boom, I'm there. And I always really appreciate in more open games. Yeah, you get a skateboard as well, which is great.
It's funny you were talking about last Thursday. I was like, oh yeah, I get skateboard and Bully.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason that I've kind of been going through this like almost love affair with Rockstar games recently, because they always have like these little details or these moments that just sort of organically come up, and it's like I didn't expect that to happen. Like I wasn't thinking about that, because I think as you do side missions or something, you get new costumes, and I got this red ninja costume. And I'm like, oh, this is like I'm gonna immediately equip this. And then it's like, oh, the prefects are yelling at me because I'm not in school uniform. Of course, like, like you do get this cool costume, but
it's still run past them, go to class if you want.
Right,
But, like,
exactly. But it's still like contextualized in the world. And then I got like thinking, like, I know that this doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but think about how many games you play where you can make your character whatever, and like no one cares. You know what I mean? Like no one will. You could be like a crazy monster freak, and they'll react to you like you're the savior or just like a very typical hero. And so it's like, oh wow, like that's making this normally like pretty basic decision like just a little bit more elaborate.
The Fable franchise does that.
Yeah, sure. Right.
I just replayed that. That was a kick.
Yeah. You did all of them? Back to back?
Bought Fable 2 on Steam. Have not played it.
Okay.
Downloaded it, but I played Fable 1. But and I think also not a lot of games that force you to go to bed. Like you will, I think at like midnight or 1 a.m. you pass out, just wherever you are, and you wake up in bed and like. But that kind of day-to-day vibe with the school, like it puts you in a different mindset, just like Persona. Like once there's the idea of like these days matter, like yesterday was the day before, and tomorrow is going to be a different day. I really like games like that, and I think that's why stories impact me so much in Rockstar games, is because it's not just the cutscenes that we're saying, it's not the dialogue we're writing, it's like how that. It's like the fact that you had to leave your apartment at the beginning of the story and you go back to where you live at the end of it. Yeah. Just that kind of starting and stopping makes it real in a way or immerses me in a way that a lot of other games don't. You
compare it to Persona, and I think a fault of the more recent Persona games is, despite having like really interesting characters that are complex, the way that they talk to you is kind of like too referential. Where they're like, "Oh man, like you're so cool. Like I love hanging out with you, Joker." Like it's kind of that vibe. which has its own charms, but I appreciate in Bully, like, that's not the case. Everybody fucking hates you, and they'll just, like, shit talk you and, like, try to beat you up, and I'm sure that changes as the game goes on, and you build up reputation with different groups or whatever, but I love just kind of this, like, you against the entire school vibe,
And it has a good South Park way of showing that, like, they're all flawed. Like, they're all, like, even the nerds that are technically, like, the smartest. Like, they're the ones that are most aware, I think, of what's going on. Like, they're completely socially awkward. And then you have, like, the girls who obviously have the attention of the boys, but they have all their issues that they're dealing with each other, all the infighting. And then the jocks who are just, like, see no value in, or, like, the greasers who are, I don't want to be on campus. Like, they're probably, like, ditching most of the time. So it's interesting to, like, get, like, there's no clear bad guys in it. It's just kind of you all playing them against each other, which you do in GTA as well, which is fun to do.
I just have to say that, like, I feel so ignorant for thinking, like, oh, it's just GTA in middle school, because, like, it's such a well thought out and executed on concept. Like, they just crush this sort of, like, open world school setting where you get to kind of make your choices in a way that is so fascinating. And it's like, and I also feel this way about Manhunt, which we're not going to have time to get into on this episode, but I would love to talk about as well.
If you want to save that for a later Frame Trap, I'll go back because I didn't like Manhunt, but what did you get Manhunt on?
Okay. So I've had a journey with Manhunt. I've previously tried to play it.
I've never seen it, like, pop up somewhere.
I've previously tried to play it, like, a couple of times I thought, and I always thought it was, like, way too frustrating. I just like wanted to like it more than I did. But this most recent time, so shout out to this group. I'm blanking on the name right now, but all the Rockstar games on PC, they've released definitive edition patches for, and they're extremely easy to install. You just put it into your Steam folder and you run it. And I've been playing like the definitive version of Manhunt on PC through Steam. And it has finally clicked with me. I haven't finished it yet, but I've definitely put more time into it than I used to, and I intend to finish it, and I've really enjoyed it. And I think you and I would have a very interesting conversation about it, because I think we've kind of been in the same place. But anyway, it's really making me think, like, there's way too much in Bully for them to not make another one. Like, this is too good. Like, they really need to make another one. Yeah.
The generations just come and go. And you
well,
guys could absolutely destroy this.
They do one game every, like, 6 years.
Yeah. Especially because there's still one major thing. Two last things I want to say about Bully. One, excellent Halloween game. If anybody's looking for something to get in the Halloween mood,
absolutely.
Within an hour and a half, I think, in the campaign, you get to Halloween.
Yes.
And, like, everyone gets in costume. The whole school changes. There's all these missions. There's, like, a bonus mission. It's a great... And then you, like, get up the next day and the decorations are gone. You have that classic, like, November, like, oh, it's over.
Yeah.
It's I always like to go back and play that. Also, the NPCs in that game are rarely just NPCs. Like, so if there's like the redhead gal who I'd always recognize, this guy who's got her hair up in a red ponytail, and if you go into, like, the commercial district, she'll be there, but not in her school uniform. She'll have, like, another outfit on, and she'll be shopping. And so, like, if you see students and faculty and other people. And it's like, oh, I would love Rockstar to do that, to make something that's not, there's the biggest map we've ever made. It's like, make something small that I'm seeing how it, in a Shenmue way, seeing like how it operates.
Yeah.
Haven't been a lot of that. Like there's kind of indie games, but no bigger developer that's known for open world stuff has gone and, like, done something intimate in that way.
But yeah, I really have to recommend the mobile port. And it's funny because, like, there's a mobile version of Max Payne as well. And I was like, I'll give that a spin. And it's just like, almost hilariously not meant for mobile. Like, this doesn't feel good, and the concessions that you made, like it's like not the, like, very clearly not the way to play that game. And I'd love to play Bully on, like, PC or console just for comparison. But yeah, I've been really shocked if anybody out there is curious. But it's time to get a little hot. It's time to turn up the heat. For the sizzle. And I don't know where this sizzle came from. The one that I initially landed on is way more boring than this one. I'm hoping we get some juicy stuff out of this. Kind of just hit me like a bolt of lightning. What is the worst restaurant experience you can remember having? And if you need some time to think, I have a very recent one that is a mess.
Because there's so many different ways it can go. Scheduling, quality of food.
Right.
other
right.
people
You
at the restaurant
open to
with you.
interpretation. I went to Las Vegas for my birthday in June, and by the time that we got there, a lot of restaurants were closed, and the only thing that was open was Denny's. And what I'm about to tell you is definitely my fault. I acknowledge that, but the ways in which it got messed up are very funny. And for some reason, we sit down at a Denny's, and I see that they have salmon on the menu. And I'm like, I'll order the salmon. That sounds good. I love seafood. I love salmon. And the guy taking my order is definitely surprised that I'm ordering the salmon, which leads me to believe that this is something that has never happened or very rarely happens.
Yeah.
And they go back, and it's like an hour we're waiting on the salmon. And let me tell you, I've cooked salmon many times. It does not take an hour. So they clearly don't know what is going on. And they bring it to me. And you think of salmon, and you think of like this really beautiful kind of like pinkish glow that it has.
It's a very particular color.
Yes, it's a very particular color. Right. This is a brown lump. I feel like I could show this to people, and it's like, this is not
You didn't take a photo? Like that's what,
I didn't take a
That's
photo.
what iPhones are for.
Yes, you're totally right. I should have, because it's a good story. I did not take a photo. And he comes out, and he's like very apologetic, and he's like, oh, I'm very sorry. Like, it's cold. Like, we'll go and we'll heat it up. Or no, we'll remake it, is what he said.
Shit.
It was either heating it up or remaking it. I don't remember. I think he said remaking it. And he goes away, and like a significant amount of time passes, and he comes back out, and it's the same brown lump again.
Oh,
like
no.
it's a carbon copy of what happened before. And yeah, it was not good.
Yeah.
But very funny, to the point where it's like, I'm glad I had that experience, because it was just so funny. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. It wasn't just particularly a restaurant. I think it was a brewery also. This place called Pizza Port, I believe it's called, in San Diego. I went with my brother one time. And they have pizza there, obviously.
Yeah.
So we ordered a pizza. I'm not kidding, dude. Waited over an hour.
Oh my God.
And they just forgot
And it wasn't
about us.
It wasn't like deep dish or anything that takes a long time. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
And it's like, me and my brother are super patient about a lot of that stuff.
Sure.
Because like we've worked in like food things before. We
For
get
sure.
it.
Yeah.
But it's like they just fucking forgot about
Yeah,
us. They were
man.
not cool to us at all.
Fuck that.
They like didn't give a shit. And I was like, fuck this place.
Yeah.
We are never coming back here.
Yeah. That's rough.
Like, how do you I worked at pizza places. Like, how the fuck do you mess that up so hard?
Well, just to forget, like, things happen, right? Like,
Yes.
mistakes happen, and like they
But
forgot
it's
about
like,
you.
They were cool. They
Yes.
were dickheads.
That's the thing. That's what turns it over the edge, is like that they had to be dicks about something that
Yeah.
was totally their fault. Yeah. That
and it's
sucks.
like, dude, me and my brother are like the chillest people you could ask for.
Absolutely.
And if you make us mad, you really messed up.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Brad, you were one of the chillest people I've ever met. That's very
I'm
true.
very patient.
Yeah. Brandon, you got anything?
There was one time where I was at a seafood place, and I remember watching my parents lose it because we couldn't get a seat for like a long time, and I didn't care because I was a kid. I'm like, we can go to McDonald's. I don't care what I eat tonight. But it's fun, like watching my parents just like completely blow their top. Because there's something about like your parents, you're just like, oh, my
Yeah.
parent is mad.
Yeah.
Not at me.
Yeah, if my dad got
someone else
mad.
is in trouble. So that was
Right.
fun.
I'd be like, whoa.
And I remember one time we went to a really great restaurant, and no fault really of the restaurant, but it was just a bad meal for me, because it was after a long day at Disneyland, and it was at the Napa Rose, which is right outside the California Adventure. It's a beautiful restaurant, and we ate at like, I think it's called the Vintner's Table. So it's like, like one of like the, if not the head of the restaurant, is going to come up and be like, hey, I have your whole thing planned for you. And my mother-in-law, God love her, did like some 7-course thing, and the rest of us just ordered a plate. And nobody else cared except for me, because I was really hungry. I was just, like starting to get a headache, and the first like 5 parts of her 7-part thing came out before any of us were served.
Oh,
and that was
no.
just the way it was scheduled. Like she didn't know that or anything, but it was just like, I'm at one side and she's 6 people down, just what's this? I'm just there staring. And like, more wine's not gonna help. This is not. I'm just. Amanda's next to me, like, I know you can't get mad about this because it's nobody's fault. But I was like, this sucks. But it's a beautiful restaurant. Eventually had a really nice meal, but that was rough.
The worst is, when you're like starving and like everything just feels like it's taking an eternity.
But it's like, what if like your brother was eating pizza the whole time? Like,
Yeah. Not sharing.
when are you gonna get your pizza, bro?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's rough. That's rough. This sizzle is brought to you by some wonderful Easy Allies sponsors. If you would like to be shouted out on our podcast, we have quite a few. Go to patreon.com/easyallies where you can find out more information. And for this one, I knew we were going to be talking about Marvel Future Revolution, and it was going to be a lovely talk with Brandon Jones. So I thought for this, when we do the shout out after I read the names, just pick any Marvel character that you want and do
nice.
that voice.
Oh, I'm gonna do his
freedom.
The thing I hear every 20 or so seconds when Cap shouts it out. Here we go.
So shout out to Elthanas, Greg TheDarkKnight Kettering, Caleb Togi Crawford, and Nick.
Let freedom ring!
Shout out, bub.
That's what I was gonna do. That's like the only one I know. Shut up, bub.
Okay, all right.
That's all I got.
Hey, you know what?
That's all I got.
That just means we have good taste.
It's like I don't know like a lot about Marvel characters, man.
Yeah.
Shit.
I don't know. Snicked.
Let's talk about this one. It's funny because like with Frame Trap, the way that it's balanced is it's like, okay, this guest is going to talk about 2 games. This guest is going to talk about 2 games. I'm going to talk about 2 games. This one, what's funny is I feel like we can all talk about it. And I think we've all played the 1 game so far on the collection from it. And that is the Castlevania Advance Collection, specifically Circle of the Moon. Brad, why don't you lead us off here?
Oh yeah, I've been playing quite a bit. I played actually a lot of this yesterday. I was playing. I was like, oh yeah, this was a Game Boy Advance game.
Yes.
Super basic in like a Castlevania way. I think this was after Symphony of the Night, like the one after it. First GBA game.
Yeah.
Good. Having a good time playing it, but
Yeah.
it's just like super simple. I'm like, oh, it makes sense to me.
Right.
But like, I don't know what to say about this game where I'm like, this makes this game stand out. This specific element. It's like, nah, it's just a Metroidvania Castlevania game. It's good.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really do a lot to surprise me. I guess the only thing that's kind of surprising is cards you get.
Yes.
So you collect cards from enemies you kill, and you can like mix and match them for special abilities, like a fire whip, which is cool, or like a flame that spins around you.
Something that I appreciate specifically in the collection is when you are attacking an enemy, it'll let you know, like, oh, hey, you can get this card from me.
Yeah.
And so I think that just helps out as you're trying to get things.
It does, but I turn it off after a while because I just got annoyed seeing it.
It popping up like every 2 seconds
It's like
is
every
annoying.
hit you do.
Yes,
It's like,
yes. You're totally
like,
right
alright.
about that. Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I don't really need this. But it's cool if you want it.
Good to know you can turn it off. I have not done that
Yeah,
yet.
yeah.
I have not played a lot of this so far. I just played a little bit of it on the plane. And what I like about Circle of the Moon is the difficulty, where I don't feel like it's a like Castlevania 1, like crush your balls hard.
No.
But it has these kind of like interesting moments where it's like, oh damn, like if I'm not paying attention, like I'll get destroyed. But they feel fair so far. Like, so there's this Earth demon that's like shooting giant Earth spikes at you, and it's like he's got a lot of health early on, and like if you get hit by those spikes, it can really mess you up. But they're easy to learn and avoid. And like the first boss, the wolf boss, is like kind of a menace if you're not careful. And so I died, and I was like, oh man, okay, like I really need to learn that fight better than I did. And I just had like this very satisfying progression. But going through, at least in the very early game, a lot of the areas, it's not like constantly, butting your head against the wall.
Some of the optional bosses I fought, I was like, oh, they have way too much health.
Sure.
This is taking way too long.
I could definitely see it going too far.
There's like an area that is a mandatory area, and because I played this when it came out way back in the day, so I'm kind of vaguely remembering things as I go.
Yeah.
And there's just this water place you go to later on, and you go through water and it's poison, and there's these ice knights that throw ice at you, and like you get hit, they throw a spike, you get frozen. Does like what 50 damage or some shit. I'm like, whatever, I can take that. But if you get hit again, it's like 200, and I'm just fucking dead. I'm like, holy shit.
Well,
like the difficulty spike for me, Ben, has been like easy. I played lots of Castlevanias and like really intense and back down.
Yeah.
And really intense
All
then
over the
back down.
place.
I'm like, okay.
Well, and even like the potions that you get early on, it's like this is almost worthless. Like this
Yeah,
heals like
I used to
20
push
HP.
it, I was like, oh, this sucks.
That did like almost nothing.
Jack shit.
And I'm sure as I play more of it, my opinion will change because I remember playing it. I think it was the first game that I played on GBA when I played it, but I was very, very young, and I remember thinking it was too hard at that time. But I've actually been enjoying the difficulty here to the point where I was like, oh right, I can rewind, and I was like, I don't want to. Like I think I'm really like kind of latching on to the difficulty. I don't know that I want to do that, but it was brutal because when I got to the first boss, that wolf boss, I didn't find the saving room. I just kind of went into the boss and I died.
Yeah.
And it was like, you actually have to start the whole game over.
Yeah, if you don't
and
get
I
a
did.
save
Yeah,
point,
which I mean, it once you know what you're doing, it takes no time to get there.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. It can be unforgiving for sure,
yeah.
but it's been a good time. To me, it's
Yeah.
like just comfort food.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't do it at this point in time. It's nothing new or anything I haven't seen before or the best at it. But I'm just having a good time going through it, like whipping monsters. Like, yeah, I'm always into that shit.
Yeah, Brad, you're touching on something that I think you and I both agree with, where like I just love Castlevania so much that like I'm not even really. I can't. It'd be interesting to try to sit down and like review these games and like really force yourself to like evaluate them like as fairly and as harshly as you possibly can, because like there's just something about Castlevania where it's like you mentioned it being basic and you kind of mention your frustrations with it, and I'm like, yeah, I totally agree. I just love this.
Oh
like,
yeah,
you know,
I'm having
if,
a
like,
great time.
If it's Castlevania and it's in this format, like. It is. It's just comfort food. I just love it.
Yeah.
Like it's hard for me to have a bad time. Like even like if this were a different game and I died at the first boss and I was like, oh, I got to start that over again, I probably would have closed it. But I was like, no, like let's just keep going. Let's just do it again. You know, it's just
go again, whatever.
it's just happy.
Kill some skeletons.
It's kind of like what you described, Brandon, with like I just love watching these characters do that.
Yeah.
It's kind of a similar sensation here.
I just love the map. I just want to explore this castle.
I'm like, oh, here's the clock tower part again. Oh, here's the Medusa heads again.
Right,
yeah,
right.
it's like, I've done this 1,000 times.
So I'm playing on Switch. Something I do have to say that just drives me up a wall, and this is just a me thing. The way it happened in the other Castlevania collection as well. They map.
Oh, the buttons.
The way the buttons are mapped is just
ridiculous.
wrong.
Yeah, you can change
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
you
I
can change
did. I
them.
did change them. I know you can change them, but I am still slightly irked that they're so wrong out of
it's
the
like,
gate.
how do you get this wrong? Like, why?
Right. Yeah, it's like B should be jump.
Right.
Yeah. Y should be attack. Like that should just be it.
Yes.
Yeah. And so like I've changed it in a way, but that also changes like how you get in and out of menus. And so that
Right.
has messed me up
Right.
for sure. But
I've been playing on the PlayStation, so like the touchpad could do the menu for me, which is like, or the map, which is like pretty universal across games. Like
yeah.
the
Yeah,
touchpad
definitely.
is always the map, so it's just easy for me.
Yeah. Brandon, haven't heard too much of your take on Circular Moon. What's kind of been your experience?
I mean, again, there's that basicness, kind of like with JRPGs sometimes. If it's
Right.
just like kind of that white mage cure spell, like
Right.
it's just nice
Yeah.
to get back.
Yeah.
It's cozy to get back to every now and then. And I liked I forgot how it started. I like the intro. I like the Dracula's like, oh, I'm back, and it's like, ha ha, and we just run in the room. It's like, whoa, that escalated quickly. Cool. Like you would just kind of get into it, and there's a little bit of like, what's this place? That's like it can be a little boring in Castlevania games.
Sure.
You're just like waiting for the protagonist to catch up. And I like that, like this you play as someone who's trained for this, someone whose family's involved, and so it's like it's got a nice pace to it, just rushing right in.
I love the opening kind of story bit that happens because you're with this guy and his father that gets taken, and he like leaves you, and he's like, "You're just gonna get in my way."
He's just a total asshole. Like,
And then
whoa.
and then you're the guy you're playing is like. He almost sounds like a school kid, kind of, where it's like, I'm not going to get in the way. I'll show you.
Yeah.
I am capable.
You know what? I'm gonna kill Dracula.
Yeah. Just the way that it is written
Yeah.
is kind of funny. Yeah.
Oh, he's capable. Just something about getting like holy water and just throwing it on a guy and watching the damage go. I'm like,
Yep.
yeah, this
Yep.
is good stuff. He's
Very
spinning the
good
whip.
against the first boss as
Yeah.
well. Yeah. Oh, that was actually something that I didn't realize right away because there are these really annoying like purple worms that will poison you. And I was like, even if I crouch and whip, I can't hit these purple worms on the ground. If I use my flame whip, I can. and I didn't even realize. I did it accidentally, holding the button. It's like, oh right, the spinning around because I was like trying to do it the Castlevania 4 way, and that wasn't working.
There's also the slide attack you can do.
Okay.
Where you can slide across the ground.
Do you have to unlock that though? No.
I didn't figure it out till like 5 minutes playing it. I was like, oh, right, because like they put those enemies there, and I'm like, these guys are just like annoying. Like, too annoying to hit.
Right.
But it's like, oh, you can just slide through them, and it does a lot of damage. I'm like,
no, I definitely have not been sliding. That's good to know.
It's the post Richter Belmont from Symphony of the
Right.
Night.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I definitely associate that like slide. With Richter. Good to know. It is kind of annoying that you have to unlock the dash because his normal speed is way too slow.
When I started, I was like, I remember having a dash in this game.
Yes, you get it. And it doesn't take too long.
I got it eventually, but that was rough for a sec.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You might as well just had it at the start, honestly.
I am also very grateful thinking about the Advance Collection specifically, and it's like, okay, there was no other way to play these games except maybe Wii U Virtual Console. Which
I don't want to
is not the most.
I don't want to get that shit out.
Yeah, it's not the most accessible way anyway. But it's like these GBA games, they're on cartridge. Like I worry about like just over time the integrity of those cartridges and stuff. And it's just Castlevania is just such an important series that I love that there is this current contemporary collection. I want them to do it for the DS games as well.
Honestly, I'm more excited for people to play who've never played them before.
Yeah,
but I also worry because they're old games. And I'm like, people probably won't think very highly of these games.
I think that's why it's good that they have save states and rewind and stuff, and it's just making them more palatable for people.
That's true, yeah.
Because I have played back in the day, I played a little bit of Circle of the Moon, and then not that long ago, I played a little bit of Aria of Sorrow, but I haven't actually finished any of the GBA games, so I'm not. And it's like I don't think that they're that long, and so it'll be like fun to kind of just go through them. That was what was so awesome about the Mega Man Legacy Collection is just going like back to back to back to back to back.
That was a sick collection, dude.
Yeah.
And the X Collection, those are good.
Yeah, I love that. I love when they have collections.
Do more
like
of that, Konami.
Yeah, I don't always have time to do that, but when I do, it's such a treat.
So fun.
Yeah,
well, that's why I'm really trying not to be critical of this because for so many months, years after the Switch came out, we were just like, can we please get these 3 games? Can we get all of the Castlevania games on the Switch, please? And so like, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to dress them up in any way. When like Dracula X was on it was like, sure,
whatever. Sure.
All I want is just these 3.
I probably won't play, but sure.
Because they've re-released. There was the Anniversary Collection, and then they did Symphony of the Night and Rondo of Blood, and now they've done Advance. So
we got the DS games.
Yep, got to get the DS games, and I think they'll do it.
Yeah. $20 I think is fair for those 3.
Oh yeah,
I think it's an okay price.
4 games.
Definitely.
Which is
for the DS ones or this? It's 4 games on this.
I might even
for the 3.
Oh yeah, dude, I'd pay $60.
I might even get it on PC.
I'm desperate.
Yeah.
Begging for scraps with that series, dude.
Brad, I'm so glad you told me about the slide. I just wasn't sliding.
Yep. Just down attack.
Okay, fantastic. Wait.
Or it's down jump maybe. I don't know. It's
okay.
one of those. There's like 2 buttons. Okay. It's easy. You'll figure it out.
I think it's down a jump, yeah.
Okay. Brandon, kind of bring the most unexpected game, I would say. Well, I guess what I'm bringing is a little unexpected, but The Last Friend, something I had not heard of until you had brought it up, and I did a quick Google search on it to kind of get some idea of what it was, and I saw the description, and I was like,
oh yeah,
I know. Okay, this perfectly fits Brandon now, because it's described as a tower defense brawler.
2 games that I did not know I needed to have mashed up: Plants vs. Zombies and Streets of Rage. I didn't know.
Ooh,
I didn't know.
That's cool.
So I didn't even really know how they do that.
So you just think of this. So imagine you're playing Plants vs. Zombies, and instead of the person just being in the house, you can run out of the field and punch the zombies. You can just get while you have to manually plant all your turrets and stuff, but then your turrets are going to take damage because things are just going to run up and start punching them, and you got to hop between the lanes. Started out 3, is now bumped up to 5 for some levels. Some levels are still 3, and there's some levels that are just punching, that are just melee. That's like there'll be a boss and they still have lanes. So like if a boss does a big AoE attack and it's only on one lane, you can hop to avoid it, down to another lane. But as if that wasn't endearing enough to me, the reason why it's called The Last Friend is it's about you rescuing dogs in the apocalypse. Oh. So the apocalypse has happened, and you are Alpha. You are a redhead badass who rarely talks. So like in all the dialogue sequences, you'll just like grunt or grr or like just there'll be an ellipses. And your dog, your Chihuahua named Tijuan, I think. He's a little tiny guy. So like the victory thing at the end of every mission is you just like take him out and put him on your shoulder and like
cool.
And he does most of the talking. And he realizes like there's these evil, Mad Max style groups that are just kidnapping dogs for no reason. We got to go rescue these dogs. And so after every mission, you rescue a very specific dog, a very specific breed. You can rename them just like Pokemon. And you can camp. It has like a very Super Mario Brothers 3 kind of map.
Ooh,
so there's like
that's cool.
Standard missions where you go and get stars, use the stars to upgrade the truck. Or your like RV that you're protecting. But there's like other fun little, you're Alpha, but there's a guy named, damn it, I can't remember his name. And he's like the super cool version of you. And he's like your mentor and is training you. And he'll send you on like trials and stuff like that where you have to fight bosses and stuff. And then you get dog treats, which will randomly drop when you take down bigger things, or you can like up the chance that those will drop, and that upgrades your dogs. And all your dogs can either give you a new turret that you can drop down, a new ability, or like just a passive thing that happens while you're on that mission, and a new double stick special attack that you can like the first one I get is just like a damage boost, and then I unlocked one recently that is a turret boost. So like any turrets I'm standing near when I hit it will all get a boost. And then you can pick all of those when you go. So if like I'm going into a mission where there's no turrets, I don't need to bring any turrets on this mission, so I can double down on with my 6 available slots or whatever on like the thing that gives me more health and the thing that gives me a little bubble. And then if I'm going into a turret level, like I don't necessarily need the extra speed and that stuff. I want to bring more turrets in, so you can kind of negotiate for each level, like how many dogs you want to bring in. And then Tijuan operates the basic turret, so every time I put down just a basic shock turret, he's inside of it, like in a little like fishbowl. And yeah, it's got funny writing. It doesn't overstay its welcome. All the little bits are nice and short. And
nice.
The first like boss tier that I had to go through, his name is #legit, and he's like a big YouTuber guy. And so whenever I would have scenes with him, it would be one of his guards holding up an iPad, and he's on the iPad. So like I didn't actually meet him until like I did the big boss fight. And it's a gas. It's really fun. Yeah. It's got a nice progression thing that I'm able to just jump in for 5 minutes, or sometimes I play for an hour and a half. Yeah, again, it was just these two genres. If you're like, well, I'm not really a fan of either of those genres, then it's not your. The RV is 3D, and there's some 3D elements, but it's mostly 2D, like 3D effects. But it's all in lanes, and so it's all like 2D sprites and stuff.
Cool. You kind of mentioned this game sounds just super charming, but you kind of mentioned the bits and the characters and all of that stuff. But is there a large focus on story? Like, do you feel like there's really a lot going on, or is it just like kind of just enough to get you to the next thing?
It's pretty airy in that regard. Okay. Like there's not a lot. It's very much there's a couple cutscenes, like at major story moments, but again, like your Chihuahua does most of the talking, so you can kind of guess the tone. What's nice and cozy is there's like friends you meet. So like this third big area is like a factory, and all the workers are overworked by the CEO, who you fight at the end. And so one guy's like helping me, and I can go back to his like cafe and like give him items as I find them. A lot of characters you can talk to, just NPCs. You can camp anywhere on the map, and all the dogs will be all laid out, so you can like go up and pet each dog and like see what level they're at. You can talk to your dog. There's a gal who will level up the dogs, and she will say things depending on what area she's in. And so like there's chatting, which is nice because it just kind of colors the world. Yeah. And I definitely got a sense where like if I camp, there's a little campfire, and it's just kind of nice to be like to see that the environment around the campfire will change depending on what zone you're in. So if we were in the factory, it's like all the broken down machines in the background and stuff. Cool. So cozy in that way.
Which platform did you play this on?
PC.
Okay.
Played on Steam, and it was one of those things where like I unlocked the version on Steam, and actually we're not going to do an official review of this, and we have a little bit, thanks to the dev, we have a little bit of like a 2-day advance, I think. By the time you're listening to this Frame Trap episode, it's actually not out yet. Actually, it's coming out in a couple days after that.
Okay.
And there is a demo. I think it's called The First Bite. The Last Friend, The First Bite, or something like that. And it was interesting because before I updated it in Steam, I played that earlier demo, and like all the costs changed, there's a lot that had changed.
Cool.
Because I imagine when you're making something like PvZ, like it's tough to find that blend of like how tough, because it's all about momentum. Yeah. You don't really know how difficult something's going to be until like 40 minutes into a match.
Right.
If you're really like setting up.
Because the reason why I asked is you play this with a controller or mouse and keyboard?
Controller.
Okay, because I think I always
There's lots
have,
of punching too, special moves, and
yeah,
the right stick does like a bunch of different, like an uppercut and a stomp.
Obviously, brawlers play fantastically on controllers, but I think whenever it comes to like strategy or like placing things down, I always get nervous about doing that on a controller, which I think can be totally unwarranted. But it doesn't sound like you had any problems.
It's not bad. Like one of the things that I think on paper is like quote unquote bad. For me, I don't care because I love this PvZ format so much. So like if I find something that works, I'm going to do that every time and enjoy it dominating. Whereas like I can see people being like, you're not rewarded that much for experimenting. Like you'll get a new, it's like, oh, it's a dog that shoots flame things. I'm like, I'm good. I don't need, like, I'm sure I can maybe try it out, maybe adopt to that style, but like what I'm doing is working. And so I'm just going to keep doing that.
Yeah.
But I'm really enjoying it. And it's fun to like, you know, do something that I know will perform well. What you get though, that compared to traditional tower defense where like you are not really controlling anybody on the ground, is it can be kind of scary because like some things, a big guy will show up in PvZ and I'm like, oh, I'm going to slow him down and I don't have to worry about him. Whereas like a big guy shows up and I'm like, I gotta get in front of this guy and either like knock him down or like grab somebody and throw him into him. Or it's fun to like learn Streets of Rage tactics to cheese PvZ tactics. So like one thing I did immediately is I'm like, oh, if I run up to him, he'll stop and attack. And then I back up and don't take damage, but then run at him and he stops.
Yeah.
And every time he stops, my turret's going the whole time. And so I'm slowly, you know, chipping away at him. So there's fun things to do there. Like
that sounds super fun. Yeah.
One of the skills is you'll repair a turret if you're near it. So it's just like, it's fun to like set up walls and I'm all ready to go and I'm physically standing behind them and then I can kind of run forward if I need to and punch a guy.
I love those moments in games, like the like, oh wait, they do this, I can exploit it in this way, like those things that you don't necessarily get, you know, in a tooltip or whatever, but you just kind of naturally uncover it.
Like bad guys drop the currency you use to spend stuff and upgrade some turrets later, and one of the guys has like a big inner tube thing in front of him, and he's like the wall, you know, like enemy. So like if a bunch of bad guys come behind him that are weaker but do a lot of damage, they're protected in front of him, and so you got to run up and like do a bunch of damage and knock him out. When he loses that, he'll freak out and run away, and so it's like he'll get away, but like that's currency that's running off the battlefield too. So it's like there's fun little moments like that. There's guys that throw Molotov cocktails. I think they throw something that lights stuff on fire, and they'll too if you get close to them and start beating them up a lot. They'll like and run away, and so it's like neat to see. Not everybody just, you know, alien style just throws themselves at the RV. But yeah, it's fun. It's not it's early access, and there were some parts where I could see like some icon that was like a little bit too far to the left, like in the menu, and it's like I could see the image behind it, or like there was one conversation I went in and like hit it back and nothing happened, and I'm like, okay, and so I like closed it and reopened it. But it's like I said, it's like it's got that Super Mario's 3 map, and so everything is just so quick to access. And you know, sometimes I would start a mission and be 15 seconds into it and be like, wait, what am I doing? And I would restart and line up my turrets a different way. And so it's a very quick game to access.
Good. Yeah, important in something like that for sure. Sounds really charming. Yeah.
I think I recommend it for, again, those people that are interested. If you're into beat 'em ups and you want to try tower defense or vice versa, or you like more active, because they have done, you know, some of my favorite tower defense games are like, I'm total boots on the ground. Half the time I'm either punching or shooting things. The turrets are just kind of back up. Yeah. So it's that vibe.
The last game we're going to talk about, I mentioned it earlier, is Grand Theft Auto 3. And it's really funny because I've always had a soft spot for Grand Theft Auto 3 because it's a game that changed the world, right? And the way that I played it kind of indicated that, where when it came out, I remember playing a lot of it with friends specifically, and we just did not care about the missions at all. Like we'd just be like, oh, that's where the Banshee is. Let's go steal it. Let's see how high we can get up in the wanted level. And like that is my experience with GTA 3. And I look back at it so fondly. And so I've always wanted to, and now I finally have. I want to sit down and I want to play through the entire story of GTA 3. And it was not what I was expecting, in a good way and a bad way. Like, I have not played a game in such a long time where I have just been, like, flat out, like, this is just total bullshit. Like, you hit this point about, like, 50% of the way through the game where the mission, it's just, like, it almost feels like a roll of the dice on whether or not you can complete them. There's one mission in particular where you have to take this car, and you can't have it get damaged.
Right.
And these trucks will come in and they'll be shooting at you, and then there are guys placed where you're like, how did you expect me to see them? Like, really, they're up above the bridge, and like the controls, I had to switch from mobile to PC because I was just like, I just cannot do this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and like just like some of the most hilarious, like just doing missions over and over and over again, and then being like, okay, I finally got lucky. And so that is really, really frustrating, but it almost adds to its charm in a way. Like this huge negative is like almost a positive, and I kind of miss it in a way. There's something that like I'm like, Rockstar could never make a game like this again. Like they just can't. They're too big. They're too successful now. They would never release something that has these like very jagged edges anymore, because in spite of the missions being total bullshit and frustrating and controls really not able to do what they want you to do, it also leads to this like kind of organic, like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened moments where you're like, I can't believe I survived that, or I can't believe the enemy did this. And it's just sort of this chaos that goes in really well with what GTA 3 is and what it's known for is this kind of this open sandbox. And so there's like moments where you're like, that's like a story right there. Like I could tell that to somebody. Whereas now I think about like the missions in like Red Dead Redemption 2 or like Grand Theft Auto 5, and they're really great in different ways, but it's very like, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. And it's not that there isn't any variation. That's not what I'm trying to say. But like this like very rough, again, like a jagged edge is kind of unique to this era, right. I feel like, yeah.
Which and it's interesting because a lot of GTA fans are frustrated that, myself and Huber included in a certain way, that it's become GTA Online and is not so focused on the narrative aspect of it.
Yes.
But what you just said when you were like, I would get together, even GTA 1, I remember in college I had a buddy of mine who was just obsessed with it. And this was long after it had come out, but he just had it on his PC. And it was funny because I would hear like sirens like through the window in our dorm, and I would like, we're in downtown Boston. I think it's like some ambulance is rolling by. It's like, oh no, he's just playing GTA 1. That like getting back to, I just hung out with my friends and we just got in trouble and drove around. It's like, that's GTA Online. GTA has kind of gotten back to where like it originally was. Yeah, it's interesting people's expectations where they're set for like what the narrative will deliver. I always just kind of let it roll over me. I've never like, I think Vice City Stories is the first one I was like, that was dumb. That character was not making smart choices.
I think I'm just able to appreciate the stories now that I'm older, and I'm playing GTA 3 and GTA 5 actually at the same time. Or, well, I finished GTA 3 now, so I'm just playing GTA 5. I could spend the whole episode talking about GTA 5, but there's something... I actually think the story is really good in GTA 5, but there's something about GTA 3, and I don't know if you would agree with this, Brandon, that I really appreciate. Like, every conversation is extremely short.
Yeah.
And there's just kind of this snappiness to it that I think Rockstar has really gotten away from, and it really cultivates this kind of feeling of like, you are a tool to be used by these people. Mm-hmm. Like, they're not going to sit down and tell you their life story. You're just useful to them for a job. Like, you'll even have missions where it's like, oh yeah, they just left you a note. And it really kind of makes you feel like kind of lost in this like really awful city, the worst city in America, Liberty City. And I think it just adds to the vibe and the speed with which they talk to you. I think kind of lets you get out there and go do the missions and really be engaged. Mm-hmm. And so its presentation, I think, is actually really interesting. And because they have so little space to kind of deliver lines, I think they do a tremendous job of giving the characters some quirk or personality or like humor, even though they're really not saying that much to you, which I really like. Like, in a lot of ways, I still think this is like kind of a remarkable game, and its roughness like almost adds to its charm. So
Yeah, I remember the gunplay was terrible.
it is. It's
what I remember.
it's even worse than you remember.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Well, I remember
yeah.
even at the time, like on PS2 when Vice City came out, everybody was like, "Oh, the katana." I'm like, "Yeah, but to control's like ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like it's very hard
Yeah.
to look like you're doing anything cool with the katana." Yeah, it's neat that it's in there, chainsaw and everything. I'm like, you look like an idiot using it, but
Absolutely.
sure, I guess.
Yeah. And
It was all about cars. To me, it was all about the story and the cars. The
Yeah.
shooting was fun.
Yeah.
The sniper rifle's fun, and the rocket launcher's fun. There's the mission where you got to take out the head of the mob boss. I think it's like before you move to the second island. It's like how you graduate to the
Yes.
second island.
that mission is also
Because you got to take this car out, and like if it runs away, it gets away, and then
Yeah.
you fail the mission, and there's like this huge boring lead up to like when you get to that point. So it's fun when I was playing it for the GT Retro, and I'm like, wait a minute, and I just like did a cheat, got the rocket launcher, I'm just waiting down the street, like,
Well-
we're expecting that.
You actually kind of touched on something that I thought about as I was playing it, but didn't fail to bring up here. Is because it's like, again, kind of talking about that like jankiness that it has. You can kind of come to your own solutions to a lot of these missions, where it's like the mission that you're talking about. It's like, oh yeah, you can get in the car and chase him, but if you are careful about it, you can just snipe him and end the mission right there.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of missions where you kind of have those moments of those. It's like, oh, there's an easier way to do this, and there's like enough room in this sandbox to kind of experiment, and that is always like really fun and rewarding. Like
That's
it almost
cool.
feels like Hitman.
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
cool.
way less detailed than Hitman.
Yeah, you're like, I don't know if I can do it this way, but you do,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, sweet.
Yeah. It's funny because the gunplay is so rough in a way, like it's so unbalanced because when you run into enemies, they're just like laser focused on you, it's like, "Boom, boom, 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 boom."
Yeah.
And you like are kind of like sitting there like trying to fumble with the controls. But there's also like this, its sloppiness again, like almost adds to it because you'll run into these moments of panic where you're like, I just got to shoot. And the controls aren't really good enough for you to like be meticulous about it. So you're kind of just like, I don't know, man. And you're just like firing away as like cars are exploding around you.
Like, snapping and going,
Yeah, yeah.
And the guns don't sound good.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, and like the legs are falling off and heads are popping off and blood is everywhere. It kind of fits the chaos in a weird way.
yeah,
But
totally.
yeah, I have a lot of respect and love for this game.
Oh yeah, me
and-
too. When
yeah.
that game came out, it was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's still really crazy. Like the ads on the radio and like a lot of the Chatterbox stuff is still really funny. Yeah. And pretty sharp as well.
Man, GTA PS2 era, wow.
Yeah. Wow. Legendary.
3 GTAs on one console.
Yeah.
Imagine
you
that.
Get like,
Imagine that.
you get like, we didn't even get one. The last one, we just got a port.
Last
Yeah.
gen, there were no GTAs.
Yeah.
I'm really curious where they take GTA 6.
Please, somewhere new.
I hope it's not just
Somewhere
online.
new.
Like, I would be crushed, Brandon. Yeah.
I just want to go somewhere new.
Yeah.
Sick of the same old.
Yeah.
Like it's cool, like especially 5 because we were in Southern California.
Right.
But it's like,
Well,
God, please somewhere new.
I totally get what you're saying, but like playing 5, it's like that game is old. That game is like 8 years old.
Yeah.
And
it's old.
I think it is like one of, if not the most detailed
Yeah, it's
open worlds
crazy.
I've ever seen.
It's crazy.
Like you have nailed what Southern Los Angeles looks like to like such a like almost scary degree. Like there is so much detail in the open world of Grand Theft Auto 5. It's insane. But time for an insane HOTTAKE. Actually, it's not insane, but
Okay.
you know, we got to
All right.
transition. I want to talk about game streaming
Okay.
because
What? No.
I feel like
Oh, not watching people play games, but playing
No.
games that are streamed.
yes, so it's talking about like PlayStation Now,
Yeah.
Stadia, Luna, all that sort of stuff. Because boy, it just feels like no one is talking about it. You know, and this is you know, my own personal perspective, but it just feels like something that there was so much conversation around kind of before Stadia launched and so many debates back and forth, and like it was really like a hot topic, and now it just feels like a cold topic. Like no one cares. It feels like no one cares.
There's too much out there.
Yeah, it's, and I want to read this. This is from an Ars Technica article, and this is from the Take-Two CEO, Staus Zelnick. Selznick eventually admitted to shareholders that gamer uptake for Stadia didn't meet his previously optimistic expectations. As he said in June 2020, the launch of Stadia has been slow. I think there was some overpromising on what the technology could deliver and some consumer disappointment as a result. And I definitely get that. I think regardless of how you feel about a lot of this stuff, I think there has been some disappointment or things not really meeting expectations is maybe a better way of saying it. And I've been impressed. I've went back to Stadia not too long ago on PlayStation Now, and I had better times than I had ever had. And so I do think that there is some promise there. But my question to you guys is this kind of this like indifferent surge that we saw of gaming streaming services going to hurt its potential in the future? Like, do you think there's still a future for game streaming?
Yeah, I think there is still, but I don't think we're there yet, just because internet isn't as good everywhere yet. Like,
Right.
I have zero interest in streaming this because I know it'll be compromised. I don't have the best internet out there, so I would rather go through the extra effort to have a better experience actually playing the game.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to stream the game and it look bad because it'll just annoy me the whole time. So I'm like, no, I'm not doing any of that. And I personally like to own a lot of my games right now.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I feel like a lot of the streaming thing has taken a back seat. It's because of stuff, honestly, like Game Pass.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, oh, I could like get the subscription model that you would get from streaming, but I could just download the game and have it on my system at all times.
Yeah. Bringing up Game Pass is a super on point thing to bring up because Game Pass, I feel like you get a lot of the benefits of streaming without the pitfalls, right?
You get the instant gratification of like, I'm going to download this right now.
Yeah.
Here's this library I could just pick from. I'm going to choose this right now. Here, there it is. But
Yeah.
yes, it's installed actually on my system or hard drive.
You know, whether it's real or imagined, I think there's this stigma with game streaming. Like every single time you boot it up, you're thinking in the back of your mind, like, I hope this works.
Yeah.
Like, I hope this doesn't
like maybe
go
if
shitty.
If I had awesome internet or something like that.
Right. Whereas like Game Pass, you just go, you download a game, you don't have that question.
I don't have to worry about it.
In the same way, right? You're just like, I'm going to play the game, hopefully as it was intended, right? Barring some weird circumstances. And so it's like you mentioned your internet and a lot of people's internet, and it's like, when are we going to get to that point? Like, when are we going to get to the point where that comfort and kind of security is
we've
there?
gotten to the point now, at least where like, honestly, like most consoles are online at all times. You know, like DRM with games, you know, you got to be online now. And like 7 years ago, you know, people would not put up with that kind of stuff. And just over time, people get more used to things like that. Like, think about how much like, how like PC games are all digital pretty much now.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're like, there's like barely any physical PC.
If you buy a physical PC game, you might just open the box and there's a Steam code.
Exactly. And like, we might get that someday with like console video games. Who knows? Like more people are comfortable buying online now than ever. And honestly, with like Stadia, I always had the outside perspective of like you guys doing with it, and like the model of how you pay for stuff or like whatever was very confusing to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't care. I don't even want to investigate this kind of
Right.
thing. It like felt like you weren't getting a deal, like money wise. It didn't feel like you were saving a ton of money for doing it that way. Because you would buy the game still, right?
So the way that it works on Stadia is you can buy the games and just own them. But if you're a Stadia Pro member, you get a monthly intake of games that you can claim and just have as long as you're a Stadia Pro member, and then you get discounts on other games.
If you buy it on Stadia, though, can you download it to have it like on your hard drive or something? Or
you don't download it.
So
it's
you
just like
always have to access it.
you stream it on your phone or the PC or via Chromecast.
Yeah, it's like I feel like it feels like I'm paying a price of buying it to rent it almost because you don't actually own it. I mean, I guess you don't really technically own anything digital, but you know what I'm saying.
Right.
It's like I have to go through their online thing to do this.
It feels different, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is like fine, and I'm glad there's the option there for people that want to do it, but I'm just not into that right now.
I think the other thing that has kind of come to pass is when Stadia was coming out, you know, and we were comparing things to just exclusively like the Switch or the PS4 or the Xbox One, it's like you can play this instantly. And I there is an appeal to that. And it's like, oh, it's always updated and everything. But now, you know, with the SSDs in the Xbox Series
Systems are a lot
X and the
faster.
PS5, it's like it's not perfect. I'm not trying to say that, but the general point I'm making is like those are pretty fast systems,
It's
and
better
I'm able to
than it was.
Yeah, I'm able to access things to the speed where it's like I just feel like the case for game streaming is getting smaller and smaller. And you think about like mobile platforms, right, where it's like, well, there's that, right? You can have console quality experiences on your phone. And that is definitely true, but even that is offset by, like, you know, Apple Arcade has this huge initiative where it's like these are games you can only get on Apple Arcade, and they're trying to you know give you better experiences than your typical mobile game, and that's just getting bigger and bigger.
Right.
And I do play a lot of mobile games, but there's been plenty of stuff that I've heard about on Apple Arcade where I'm like, oh, is that the game that breaks me? Because I would probably like to spend time with that.
Right.
Orcs Must Die 3 was the only thing on Stadia because Blood just let me know, hey, it's on a Stadia account. And I was like, oh, neat.
Yeah.
And it's been clear that Amazon is not willing to put whatever game that needs to be where everyone's like, really? It's only a and then like that's everybody migrates over. That is obviously a scary amount of money for them in terms of investing in Stadia. And so it's just, we don't have a reason really. There's no demand. There's like Stadia doesn't solve a problem for gamers right now. So like they can argue that it works. You can show me all of the stuff, you know, that's available on it, but it's like it doesn't. There's no point in my life where I was like, gosh, I'd be lickety split, happy as a clam right now if I only had Stadia.
It's like I don't care about playing a game on my phone really or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it's like here you could play a 2-year-old Assassin's Creed game. It's like
Right.
I don't care, man.
Right.
It's like there was no reason for me to go there. Like Orcs Must Die 3, cool,
Right.
but not enough for me to go put up with it.
Right.
It is something though where
tower defense. I can't.
Hey, Orcs Must Die is cool.
Part of the reason I bring something like this up is I would really love to hear from our audience, because I think we are in such a fortunate perspective where it's like we have the new consoles, we have very powerful PCs that can run anything. You know, we kind of have the entire ecosystem of gaming at our fingertips, which is an incredible privilege, right?
Absolutely.
And so I wonder, you know, especially with the chronic shortages of the new consoles and the GPUs being in the situation that they're and so it's like I wonder if there's somebody out there where they're like, actually this is fit like this really weird hole for me where I'm able to play contemporary things at like a high level of fidelity instantly, and it's like this really good option for me. And so I'd love to like sit down and talk with somebody that's had that experience and kind of go through it, because just from like I'm just in my world, right? I'm like trying to find the spot where it fits, and it just doesn't. Like I boot it up sometimes, I check it out because of the novelty of it, but I struggle to find practical reasons for it.
I think in the head of Take Two is not interested in something that fits a weird niche for like some people.
For now,
that's not very like attractive to investors.
Right.
I think if like once the big three get involved with it more, then I can see it growing more. Like I feel like Microsoft will push it eventually at some point, because it kind of seems to be their thing.
They're handling it the way they should handle it, where it is a service that they can provide to their users.
Exactly.
Whereas I think if you're curious what happened, Ben, I think like the best answer I can give you is Amazon just like, or Stadia just fumbled that so hard. Like that was just in terms of, I remember like hearing about it being like, oh, that's going to be interesting. And then they were like, we're having an event. And I'm like, oh my God, here we go.
Yeah.
Like I'm curious what they're going to say at this event. And they said it works, and it's like, whoa, that's it. Like, and ever since I've been like, wow, I can't believe they're making such a big deal about this. When you have Microsoft, you're just like, yeah, it's a thing you can do, but it's not going to change. We don't need it to change you in the way that you are experiencing games. It's just a thing you can use.
I think if it was just an extra add-on,
it's convenient.
It'll be a lot better. But it's like Stadia, that was like the only way to really do it.
Yeah.
So it was all or nothing.
Because I follow a lot of people on social media that play Xbox games on their phone a lot. Like I've seen that.
I still have not done that, and I really want to.
I know, and it's
just to try it.
Right, and it's something that I enjoy that they're enjoying, but I just don't need, because I already have enough games that are already on the phone.
Right, exactly.
that nothing else is hacking into that I love. And so if I ever run out of those, then maybe I will look to that. Or if I'm ever like in another room and absolutely cannot go to my desk to play this game, and don't have my Switch or don't want to play something on my Switch, then there, I made it. But I'm just not there yet.
There's kind of like the big question, the overall question of like, is this eventually going to be the future, right? And people obviously make the Netflix comparison, and it's like, yeah, streaming services are like so
Huge.
dominant and have completely changed the world. But with gaming, I do think is a little bit of a different beast, because for pretty much my entire professional life of doing this, I've had people tell me like, this is going to be like the next thing that will endure forever. It will completely like supplant the experiences that you're used to. And time again, that just like hasn't happened. People will be like, mobile games are going to kill console games. Yeah, that never happened. Like,
In fact, they're more popular than ever.
they coexist, and mobile games are a huge market, undeniably. I'm not saying that, but they didn't kill console games, right? That didn't happen.
Just side by side.
Or like, you know, motion controls are going to completely supplant controllers. That didn't happen,
Right.
You know, and really, like, even Nintendo has super moved away from
A lot of
the thing that they really kind of capitalized on.
And I think with Netflix, I think you're still seeing like older film people now that are just like, that shouldn't have been nominated for Academy Award, and like that should be in the theaters. People don't respect. Okay, what are we watching on Netflix tonight? Like they're still absorbing it. Like they're all over that stuff. Like they're producing their own Hulu series and everything.
Yeah.
Whereas like even now, even with all the gains that we've gotten streaming, like I still need this to look absolutely as good as it possibly can.
Right, and I think that's the
You know,
demand.
you have people that are just like, am I going to play Death Stranding again because it looks a little bit better?
Yes.
I think I will.
Right.
You know, so it's like it's very, very important to us.
Right.
That it's fast and clean
And that's you
and it's already
hit the nail
so
on the head.
convenient. It's not
Right.
inconvenient. It's not. They've really made it easy for us to enjoy the games we want to enjoy.
Yeah, with gaming, unless you solve this problem, it's like the things that I care about. It's like I want a game to control as well as it possibly can. I want as much precision as I can get. And anything that gets in the way of that is a hindrance. I want it to look as good as it possibly can. I want to be absorbed into this world, and I want it to run as well as it possibly can. I don't want the frame rate, you know, interrupting
That's the
joy.
funny thing. It's like these phones are so good. I bet Bully looks great.
It looks fantastic. Yeah, it looks fantastic.
Like some of those character models, like KOTOR, like whoa,
But-
like,
but-
looks better than like on Xbox.
But when you have like all three of those demands, right? Those are so hard to cater to. I think gaming is just it ridiculously demanding in a lot of ways. And like even Bully on phone, as much praise as I have for it, like yeah, I wish I was playing it with a controller, you know, or a mouse and keyboard. And so it's like the benefits kind of outweigh the negatives, the convenience, how good it looks, all of that kind of thing. But like, you know, I think if you're heavily invested in gaming, like your demands are so high in a way that like we don't even realize sometimes, that I think other mediums don't have to worry about to quite the same extent. Obviously, people want movies to look really, really, really good, but you know, you're not worried about controlling a movie, right? And so, yeah, it's funny because like the entire industry, like consoles and PC, were built to capitalize on those things, and unless we can like find a way to fully replace that, like I don't know that it'll happen.
Like, think about how crazy it is, like, Blu-rays still come with, like, a DVD version of
Yeah.
the movie. It's like, imagine buying a game and there's a PS3 version in there, too.
Yeah.
In case you want to play that version.
Right. Which you wouldn't. You bring that up, Brett, and it pisses me off so much. I've bought so many Blu-rays, and it's like, this is just a waste of, like, I'm never going to watch this DVD.
I don't. Yeah, I haven't bought a Blu-ray in a very long time.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's just too easy.
It's too easy.
Yeah.
Are we ready for some emails?
Yeah.
All right. Our first email comes in from Brandon. Hello, everyone. As I write this, the next round of technical flights for Halo Infinite are underway for Halo Insiders, and from what I've heard, anyone who has had a chance to play these tests are all praising it for feeling like Halo. Just real quick, a quick interjection. The technical flight of Halo Infinite happened, the first part of it, the first leg of it happened as I was going to Knotfest. But although I wasn't matchmaking with real people, I was able to boot it up Thursday night and just do some matches with bots. This is not like a full evaluation because my experience with it was so limited, but I have to say, even that, I am jazzed on Halo Infinite.
Cool.
Like, it felt fucking
Yeah, it's
awesome.
good.
Yeah.
Cool.
I was really, really,
They need
really
a
into
W.
it.
Good for that team.
Yeah, I am.
Get it.
I'm gonna be streaming the next technical flight, but it went from like, I love Halo so much and I'm worried about it to like, holy shit, I can't wait. Like
From my understanding, is the multiplayer in 4 and 5 weren't super great for a lot of people. Like, people don't look fondly back at Halo 4 and 5 multiplayer. Everyone's like,
they did
Halo
not-
3.
they didn't
Halo
have the
Reach.
penetration or longevity that I feel like other ones did. Yeah.
So if people are digging it now, that's awesome.
Yeah, I really liked it a lot. And like it's one of those things where I can tell, even in my brief amount of time, it's like they put so much effort into fine-tuning this. Like the nuts and bolts of
it's great.
all of these weapons and everything. Yeah. Also, the grappling hook is fucking awesome.
Because, like, I didn't play a lot of Halo multiplayer. I only played 3 a lot. I thought 3 was really fun, but I
Yeah.
didn't care about 4 or 5 really. I was just like, but this looks really fun.
Yeah, Halo 1 and 2 and 3 were all like tons and tons and tons of time. And I've played every Halo multiplayer, and it has never had the same impact as those first 3 did. But I've enjoyed them. I enjoyed 4 multiplayer. I really enjoyed 5 multiplayer for a hot minute, and Reach as well. But yeah, the first 3 were definitely like the titans for me.
Sure, yeah.
For feeling like Halo, this is very heartening to hear, as it feels like Halo as a whole, not to mention Xbox, needs Infinite to be a major success, and this has me worried. In many cases in which Halo has shown any campaign footage or trailers, plus when paired with all the different delay news and missing features at launch, there's been a lot of apprehension and concern on if Infinite will be solid all around. Personally speaking, Halo 5 was such a disappointment with its campaign, and since Halo as a series is one I've most enjoyed with friends who have all drifted apart, if Infinite doesn't grab me like I'm hoping, I think I'm done with Halo and will move my attention and energy elsewhere. All of this has inspired me to ask you, is Halo as a brand and IP too huge for Infinite to succeed? With a massive amount of anticipation hype from many Halo and Xbox fans, I'm not confident Infinite is going to be an instant out of the gate day one success, though if the fans are patient with 343, I do think with the roadmap they have, it'll be a great game down the line. Thanks for reading this email if you do, and stay easy, fellow allies.
I mean, I think this game's just going to have a ton of updates. Like, that's just kind of the online model nowadays. And I think even if you're not a huge fan of it right off the bat, it's going to just keep getting updated and eventually tweaked. I mean, and it's free to play too. Mm-hmm. So I guess you don't have to feel burned about spending money and playing the multiplayer and hating it.
Right.
Like, you could be disappointed as a Halo fan, but I don't know.
I think this is such an interesting email because I think if you're already into Halo and it, feeling like Halo or feeling really good or kind of rekindling that nostalgia or love or whatever it's doing, I think that's very positive. But honestly, I think multiplayer games are in a huge pickle right now because even if a game is really, really, really good, it is so hard to get long-term attention. There are so many free-to-play, mobile, whatever, fully established. Like there are institutions like Call of Duty coming out every year. Like there's so many multiplayer games to play that I think a lot of people have this experience, myself included, where you'll play a multiplayer game where like, oh, that is awesome, but like you just can't keep up with it because there's too many things.
Yeah, of course.
And so that is kind of now what I'm thinking about with Halo Infinite, where it's like, even if it's really, really, really awesome, like truly no fault of the game, I absolutely think that will appeal to hardcore Halo fans. But what about people that didn't grow up with Halo? Like, is it going to stick with them? Is it going to pierce that audience? And I'm really curious to find out.
The thing I'll say about Halo is it feels different from a lot of those other shooters, but I guess they all feel different from each other. So maybe if there's something you like about Halo more, it's like, I think of Splitgate. That game's awesome. Yeah. And I've played a little bit, but it's like, I'm not going to spend a ton of time playing it because there's so many other games I have to play.
Right, exactly. Splitgate actually came into my head as well. And it's like playing Halo Infinite, I just like lit up like a Christmas tree, like shooting somebody with an assault rifle and finishing off with a melee attack. And it's like, this is so classic to me. I've done this so many times. I love it. And it's like, that doesn't mean anything to a brand new player. You know what I mean? Like,
but maybe it could mean something for a brand new player.
Yeah, that's a good point. I agree. It could mean
maybe
something.
They'll just fall in love with the way how the multiplayer feels. The unit, like maybe the campaign will be their entry into
Right.
this universe or something like that. Then they'll go from there.
Right, and I do think that is a huge part of it, especially with how long people have waited for Halo Infinite, the super long delays. I hope every part of this game is able to meet a similar quality.
Like I'm like a little concerned about the campaign just because we haven't like seen it really too much.
Right.
But like I'm super excited to play it all.
Yeah, I think with how good the multiplayer feels, it has given me confidence in the campaign because I can't wait to do this. Some of the things that I'm doing in multiplayer in like a big open world.
Yeah, I'm bummed about the no co-op at launch.
Yes,
because
I
like
agree.
that's
I
how
think
I've played pretty much every Halo launch.
I agree.
But you know,
But I think that is just straight up a bummer. But I'm also hoping that the campaign is good enough that by the time co-op comes out, I'll be like, I can't wait to dive back in.
yeah, exactly.
That.
Like I hope it makes sense.
Or a bunch of people that just didn't jump in.
Exactly.
Just come back later and another big update.
Totally.
Yeah, I wonder if they just, because the infamous story that was like so informative to me when I first learned it about Halo 2, how they made this like whole demo that just wasn't in the game. And then they had this like huge win at E3 and then came back to the studio and were like, oh no, like, we don't have a game. We spent so much time making this E3 thing.
Yes.
It just doesn't exist. Like, what do we got to make this game now? And I think they're just so dug in, right? They're like, this has to be huge. This has to be successful. We can't do co-op. We can't do these other things. In a strange way, that's all. I've kind of been like, oh, they're very focused on what they're doing. Yeah. So what we'll get will, not have a lot of bells and whistles maybe people are expecting, but I don't know. I think I still foolhardishly believe. I think they'll pull it off just because it seems when they brought Staten in and all these other people, it seemed like it's very important to them that this succeeds.
I genuinely hope so. I think Halo Infinite being a huge win would be
I'm really excited to play it.
Yeah,
I like Halo. I'm like not the hugest Halo fan, but I really like it. Yeah, and definitely. I respect what it does.
Yeah,
like getting in a Warhog with your friends is like the coolest thing ever.
This is a dumb statement, but Halo is too good to suck. You know what I mean? Like it is.
There's so much potential there. I mean, we've seen it done so well.
And like playing a lot of the Halos, like playing Reach or 1 or 2 or 3, like even going back to them now, it's just like these are still phenomenal games. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Our next email comes in from Alexander, who writes, hello, Ben and panel. Accessibility options in games come in all shapes and sizes. Some options only alter tiny aspects of games and keep overall gaming experiences intact. Adjusting Spider's appearance in Grounded is a good example of that. But there are also accessibility options that change games in significant ways, like Funky Kong in Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Very good examples here. Sometimes there are several such options, and if you enable them all, you'll practically be playing a different game. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never seen games warning players that certain accessibility options have dramatic impact on the gameplay experience. Of course, I understand the whole point of accessibility is to open gaming up for those who can't play otherwise, and telling them up front that they will not be able to get the full experience doesn't help that cause. But I also think that the absence of such information is a form of false advertising. You may think that with accessibility, you'll be able to play the game just like everyone else, when in fact you'll be interacting with significantly different version. Imagine a Souls game having an invulnerability option. Playing in such a mode can be fun and rewarding, but the game but players should probably know that they are playing an action adventure instead of a Souls game. Do you think the game should advise you not to pick certain accessibility options unless you absolutely have to, and explicitly tell you what you'll be losing when enabling them?
Reminds me of Rockstar when you would do a cheat and it would say you can't get achievements anymore on the save, FYI. You know, they're like, that's what you were altering this cheat. So yeah, like a little pop-up window. I guess wouldn't hurt. I wonder if this will happen just naturally with the growing pains of adding all of these modes. That there definitely has been a rush, in this last couple of years, which has been great to see, of like big developers kind of leading the charge in terms of implementing a lot of these things across a ton of different genres. Insomniac has really done a bunch, but that might be just kind of confusing for people. I don't know if they've gotten then the feedback on, to put into sequels and other games that they produce from kind of their first efforts. Ubisoft did a lot with Assassin's Creed.
I see where Alexander is coming from, and I think it's a good question. I think he's coming from a very good place on it. But I would say that if it's well presented to you in the game, and I think a lot of times it is, they are very clear about like what it'll be doing, or just the nature of it is obvious enough. Like an example, so games have been pretty commonly adding like a story mode difficulty. And I feel like the explanation for that is very apparent, that you know what you're getting into ahead of time and you're deliberately choosing it. They'll be like, hey, like combat like won't be a big deal. We know you're not here for that. You want to explore, you want to experience the story. Yeah. So I think there's like you would only pick that knowing what it is going in, I feel like. So they make it very obvious. Or I think like intuitively that kind of thing comes up. So he mentions like invulnerability in Souls, right? Like just by playing it, I think naturally you'll be like, yeah, this is not how it was intended, right? Like this is not designed for this, and I feel that as I fight things, right? And so I totally get where you're coming from, and I do think if it is unclear, it should be explained, but I'm just not certain that happens that much.
Sure. And certainly people that are not able to play these games are like, I very much understand I'm playing a different version than what normally people do. I just would not have been able to play Last of Us Part 2 had they not had these options. So
sure.
Now I can.
I do think there's kind of a point here. I think about Dragon Quest XI, the Draconian settings. And that was really frustrating for me because I was like, okay, I have to make this choice. This game is like 100 hours long, 80 hours long, whatever it is. It's like, once I choose it here, I can't undo it. Yeah. Like I don't know how this is going to be. And so that does frustrate me sometimes. Yeah. Where it's like, it's not necessarily that I don't know how, like what the option is, but because I cannot change it. Yeah. And that would totally be rectified if I could toggle it on and off. And so sometimes I get frustrated at the rigidity of some options.
Right.
So you can't experience that. So if that's what you're talking about, I totally agree there, for sure. Our last email comes in from Joseph, who says, Dear Ben and Allies, I'm growing older, and just like everybody else, I feel like it's becoming less comfortable for me to play video games. I've tried buying a big beanbag chair to sit in front of the TV, but feel that it lacks back support. My couch is too far away from the television, and I have to squint. And I don't want to sit at a desk to play games, since I sit at a desk at work all day. What things do you do to make gaming more comfortable for long periods of time?
Move around a lot.
Stretch.
Take breaks, yeah, stretch.
I actually, Ben, I didn't know Diablo 2 Resurrected had controller support. I looked for it. I went into the options and was like, how do I turn that on? And I didn't see anything, so I got to check that. But I actually did an editorial this week on Cup of Jones because I was like, well, I'll just use mouse and keyboard. And after 20 minutes, I was like,
it's great.
I can't
sure.
do that anymore. Yes. Like, it's fun. And I remember, like, I've played a lot of games like that, but I was like, oof, I can't, because like this weekend I was doing the frame trap prep, I was bouncing around to a bunch of different stuff. And so yeah, I telling Cup of Jones, people were like, oh yeah, you can get like a wrist guard or something, but people updated me that you can play that with controller support. But I'm also getting to that age where there are things I'm like, I would love to. I remember like every Wednesday night when I was raiding in World of Warcraft, where it's like we would play for 4 or 5 hours straight. That was just kind of like that's what you did. That was the demand. And yeah, we would get up to get food or, research break. But yeah, I don't know if there are chairs built, they help me with that kind of stamina.
So that's actually what I wanted to bring up because growing up and in like college and stuff, I had no money. And so it was like, I'll just play on whatever. Like, and it's just like, I'll use the shittiest chair.
Oh yeah.
The shittiest desk, like the shittiest monitor. This is all I can have. Right. And so I think that really embedded in me, like not thinking about that stuff and really just focusing on the games. Because for so long, it really wasn't a thing I could be concerned about. But within the last year, I bought an expensive, like top-rated gaming chair, and it has changed my life. Like, if you have the means to do so, it makes a world of difference, and you're going to be so much more comfortable, and you're going to be able to play for so much longer. And it's like the back support that it has with the cushion and the neck support. It's like, if you are not familiar with that kind of thing, or you were kind of in a situation like I was, I promise you it is a worthy investment.
Yeah, definitely a good chair for sure helps.
But no, I get it. Like, I think figuring out like figuring out like your comfort zone. Like, don't try to force yourself to do something. If it's like, I get uncomfortable after playing for an hour, it's like, only play for an hour and be totally okay with that.
Yeah.
But investment in like good furniture and chairs and stuff, I think does make a huge difference. So I hope you can get more comfortable. And that's going to do it for Frame Trap. Thank you so much to my panelists, Brandon Jones and Bradley Ellis. Brad, it's good to have you back.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
If you want to send in an email to Frame Trap, the address is askeasyallies@gmail.com. One more time, that is askeasyallies@gmail.com. If you want to support us, we really appreciate it and need your support. Go to patreon.com/easyallies and feel free to donate whatever you can. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.